Hello, everyone. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, Stan. How are you today?
I'm very, very happy to be here. What about you, Thibaut?
I'm incredibly happy. The AC is on. I think it's going to be a perfect session.
Yeah, we're a lot better here in that room than in the cocktail room. We're going to stay a bit here.
So let's kick it off. I'm Thibaut Meunier, co-founder of Numbly. And
I'm Stanislas Lajoigny, VP Brands for Europe and LATAM at LiveRamp.
So hello, everyone. Hello to those of you who are in the room. Hello to those of you who are not in the room, but comfortably probably seated somewhere in the world. We know you're 400 and more remote. We think of you, and thanks for being with us. Today's a great day. It's already the 5th edition of the Data Collaboration Summit that we have thought of, grown, helped to grow everything with Stan and with the amazing LiveRamp team. So thank you again for attending. It's been a huge work and quite a journey, I must say, to prepare this. And we're so happy, so excited to host and to organize this event, which is, we believe, Stan, very important for the future of our industry. And so we hope you have, all of you, a great time this afternoon.
Yes, thank you all for being here. So we're going to kickstart now. We, with Thibaut, decided to call this event, this 5th Data Collaboration Summit, the new frontier for retail media being data collaboration. The reason behind that, we have all seen retail media spending going over TV spending overall, and now a recent Bain study shows that very quickly in the course of 2030, 50% of overall digital media spend is going to be retail media. And we believe that is going to go through and need people, brands, retailers, commerce medias to collaborate. So we believe the next frontier is going to be data collaboration.
Absolutely, Stan. And if we move on, we will start with our first session. We wanted to have a very quick introduction session. And the way to do this, we thought the best way was to look at the different stakeholders. What is the state of the different stakeholders? Because obviously you need at very least, those 4 stakeholders here.
Yeah, and if we look at those 4, we can start with the commerce player. The playground around commerce players is changing and evolving a lot. So first of all, we are seeing more and more specialized retailers join the party. Retail media is not called retail media anymore. We are talking about commerce media, and we are seeing a lot of specialized players, for instance, in the pet food, the health industry, the travel, the hospitality industry, joining this game.
Second, we see an incredible amount of innovations in-store. Connecting consumers with everything that takes place in the store is, of course, a frontier in itself and a great and important one for the future of retail media and data collaboration. Also, travel media checks in. Definitely, and today's a reality, we will have the pleasure to welcome Christine from Tripadvisor and talk about it a little bit later. To explain this, we wanted to look at what United is doing. I know many of you have flown United to come here, and what they do with their travel media network is, we think, groundbreaking. Honestly, when you look at all the possible, steps in the journey, in the traveler's journey that United has connected so that you can get the right ad, the right message as a consumer at all stages, starting with pre-flight, of course, in the air, and after your arrival. This is massive, and we believe, all of us, I think, here, that they have found in the past year their true position in the space of data collaboration.
So moving on from brands, we can talk about the second player of that data collaboration flywheel, which are publishers and media platforms. First trend that we're seeing, clean rooms are becoming mainstream. When we think about this, all platforms are launching their own clean room. All publishers are thinking about giving more transparency to their key advertisers so that they can better allocate their media spend. So that's one first trend. The second thing is, we're in times where every dollar counts and needs to be looked at as more efficient, as ever, all advertisers want to better understand where to allocate that spend. So the challenge for advertisers is how do they get a better understanding and deduplicated understanding of their reach and their attribution across the different media players.
Regarding publishers and platforms, what we see also is a very interesting game between them and retailers. In some cases, you'll see some retailers bring their data, or some of them, to the publishers. In some other cases, you'll see exactly the opposite. And so, really, I think this is an interesting trend.
Yeah, totally. As we were saying, well, we can look at different examples here, but Disney is building their own clean room solution to be able to share insights with everyone and all of their advertisers. We have TF1 that is going to be on stage today doing the same thing, building their graph ID and looking for ways to make that more informed and sharing that data to the advertisers. And as Thibaut was saying, if you look at France, for instance, all of the broadcasters that we're knowing are collaborating with the most famous retailers in order to get that signal and the other way around.
If we move on to the third stakeholder, which obviously is the brand, right? The brands are critical, and the number one trend, if any, we believe, is this notion of the brands willing to build true data ecosystems that they can access. They realize they don't have to own all the data that they use, but they need to build those ecosystems, true ones, you'll see some in a minute, in order to access and leverage all this data.
Yeah, and at the same time, as they are looking at doing cross-media intelligence across media, they are also, retailers are becoming media for them, so they are looking exactly at the same trend. How, as I am a brand, I'm distributing through different types of retailers. How do I collaborate at the same time with different retailers, but how do I scale that and build standards across retailers is one of the key trends.
To finish with brands, one of the things we've seen, all of us, I think, over the past few months, is the fact that after this initial huge growth, huge buzz around retail media, they now want to really measure. Not just get one KPI, not attribution, but really measure, and especially with the I word, measure true incrementality, which is in itself a learning curve. It's not something you do once and it's all forever. Measurement is really a true skill that you can grow over time. What we wanted to share regarding data ecosystems is the case of Hills. As some of you may know, Hills is part of the history of the Data Collaboration Summit. So each year, even if they're not in the room, they're remote, we know that we like to share a little bit where they are, because this is what they presented at last Adweek. And this is spectacular. Look at this brand, pet food brand, massive in the US, which doesn't hold that much first party, let's face it. But they built a true ecosystem whereby they connected through LiveRamp to multiple different clean rooms. First the retailers, then the publishers, leveraging also the panel level data, now controlling over 50% of their total transaction sales in the US. You know, online and offline, and controlling and measuring, being able to really measure more than 50% as well of all impressions, any kind of media dollar spent. When you're a CPG that actually can access over 50% of your transactions with your product, over 50% of your impressions, you're not really anymore a typical CPG. To finish, of course, we want to talk about the consumers. Without consumers, none of us is here. We can go back to work, not even go to Cannes, for those of you who made that choice. But actually, consumers are the most important stakeholder in all this, and we don't talk enough, obviously, about them. Key trends and key motivations, and that's something that will resonate with what Anne Coglan, obviously from Scope 3, will say, because this is a quote from Brian O'Kelly. Fewer ads, but better ads. That's a true benefit for consumers.
Yeah, and when you are commerce media, there is also a big question, which is how do you build the biggest and most relevant asset to be able to go to market with? And a big question with consumers are, how do you find the right balance in providing the benefits to the consumers and getting the privacy consent from them in order to be able to do what you want? So there's a fine task and challenge to build personalized experience with consumers.
But benefits for consumers go obviously beyond receiving ads. Let's face it, let's admit it, right? We need to find, all of us, real services that are made possible because of what we say this afternoon, what we talk about, because of data collaboration in retail media. And let's face it, it's not easy to find those true consumer benefits, okay? Let's look at one. Fetch in the US, we think it's quite an interesting example. Look, it's a reward app, it's a loyalty program, it's obviously free, and it's all made possible because of retail media and data collaboration. So you have all of, in your mind, probably other examples, free Wi-Fi and so on, but this is one, and we need to work on this because we've been talking about services to get first-party data, obviously, and brands are very strong on that. We'll be talking about this, but now we also need to be looking at true services made possible by data collaboration.
Yes, and to conclude all of this, I think there is one thing that is super important, is how do you bring all of these key different players together? Well, we are talking about media, so I think starting with a slight ad for Numberly and LiveRamp is a good thing to start with. But basically what we believe is that technology is something that is going to bring these four players, and services and support around using the technology and enabling collaboration is what is needed to go further and enable these collaboration use cases.
Wonderful. I think, Stan, it's time to introduce our speakers.
Yeah, we're already late. So thank you for all the speakers that are going to be on stage today. We will have on the retailer front, Stephanie Lupke from Rewe, Germany. We will have Jean-Richard Delatour from Tom&Co in Belgium, Netherlands. We'll have Amandine Martin-Briand from Amazon Ads, and Parbinder coming from the US from CVS Media Exchange.
Parbinder, by the way, congrats. Let's move on to publishers. We'll have FX PRL from TF1. Hello, François Xavier. We'll have Paul Wright from Uber Ads coming from London, Ton Coppens from DPG from Brussels, and Christine Maguire from Tripadvisor.
On the brand side, we'll have Christy Baroman from the US, but working in Europe at Colgate-Palmolive, Manon from COTY, Victoria from Versuni, and Guillaume from BIC. Thank you.
Wow. And to finish, we'll have Gabor coming from Munich very early this morning from Essity, Adrien joining us later in the afternoon from L'Oréal, and Lauren Grievski from Chase Media Solutions.
And to finish again, around the tech partners, we will have, of course, my preferred candidate here, Scott Howe from LiveRamp, Anne from Scope 3, and François from Google.
And this is it. So we'll kick off with a session, a fireside chat with CVS and LiveRamp.
And we'll follow up redefining what retail media and data collaboration looks like in Europe.
We'll talk about matching data, the magic recipe for DtoC and non-DtoC brands.
And we'll explore a very concrete case with BIC.
We'll continue with a break, and then from retail to travel and commerce media.
We'll look with our tech partners to new trends in commerce media.
And we'll finish with a fireside chat with Lauren and Adrien.
And when the temperature is cooler in the down room, we'll have the cocktail all together.
With a terrace. Wonderful. A couple of housekeeping rules. We have over 400 people online, never forget that. We have Wi-Fi available here. You have the codes here, please connect. Please be back on time after the break because you'll have a surprise. And here is some content if you want to go further.
And I think we are starting. I would like to welcome Thibaut on stage. You're already on stage. Let's go.
Thank you, Stan. And please, Scott and Parbs, if you could kindly join me on stage, that would be just amazing. Please have a seat, guys. You both come from quite far away. You can choose, Parbs. Which one would you like? 2 or 3?
Number 3 guy.
You're number 3 guy. Okay, Scott is number 2. We're good. We're good to go. Okay, so thank you for coming. Scott, you're the furthest. You come from San Francisco. Thank you so much for being with us.
Always
it's a long journey.
It's great to be here.
It's rare to have you speak in Paris, Scott, I must say. So we're
You gotta
very
invite me
happy.
more often.
We will. And then we have Parps. Parps, you come from Brooklyn, you come from New York, you come from London, from everywhere. You made it possible. You took the Eurostar. Congratulations, it worked. You're with us.
That's right, and I'm not from Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn.
That's very important. Another important thing about you, I must say, Parps, is that you were just recognized among the Adweek 50 industry leaders. So I think... What about you, Scott? You're like the boss of data collaboration. You have this vision, you know, you've been here for, I'm not going to say always, but or ever, but you've been here for a little while, and you kind of have this broad vision we all dream of having. So thanks for being with us. We have so many questions for you too. You were corporate vice president of Microsoft's advertising business group, and now you're the CEO of LiveRamp, so which gives you this true global, incredible vision. So we'll start with you, Scott. We all feel that this is a key moment for data collaboration. I mean, not maybe today, but those last few months. And you've said that at Ramp Up, which is slightly bigger than this conference. But anyway, and in your recent talks, you said it already. So can you maybe explain a bit on why, in your opinion, it is such an important time for data collaboration?
Sure. Explanations always are best when grouped in three. So let me try to think of three reasons. And the first is easy. We saw it on the slides that you just shared, is that the reality, the technology, makes this possible. My entire adult life, and I think this is true of you as well, we've worked in an industry that is chased like the holy grail of advertising, the right message, the right place, the right time, you know, solving the Lord Lever or John Wanamaker. I know that half my advertising's wasted, I just don't know which half. Well, now we can know because the technology actually makes it possible. And so we can do it, but then there are two other things that I think suggest we have to do it now. Number one is, like, we all work in an economy right now that is crazy. And, you know, on behalf of all Americans, let me just apologize for the fact that we have seemingly screwed up the economy. Are we having tariffs? No tariffs? Do we hate Elon Musk? No, we love Elon Musk. I don't know. But I know that when things are uncertain, I know what happens in every company. You probably get this. The CEO turns to the folks who run marketing and says, geez, you better make sure my marketing works. Because it's the first thing that gets scrutinized. And so every single person in our space right now is worried about, are they making their marketing dollars work? And you know what makes it work is if you have the data to show that it works. If you actually target your audience, you're going to get better results than if you just pray and spray. And then there's this third thing, which is, okay, urgency, because we got to prove that it works right now in this recession time. But here's the amazing thing that's happening right alongside that. It's like the 1-2 punch. Because yes, near-term urgency, but I think increasingly folks in the industry are realizing there is an existential crisis or opportunity that is far bigger than the fear of a recession. And that is AI. AI is an extinction event. That there are going to be companies that emerge and, you know, we've never heard of them, and they're going to be the biggest companies on the planet in 10 years. And there are going to be others that we know quite well that will not be in existence. And you know, because of AI, like, the models are going to be ubiquitous, but the data is not. And I can train a model on all the world's publicly available information, and I can get a decent outcome. But the best information is the one that the folks in this room have. It's the proprietary information that you're collecting if you're a publisher and you're authenticating your audience. If you're an advertiser that has a loyalty program like CVS, that is unique to you. And so if you can feed that into the AI models, those signals, you are going to win while someone else who doesn't have those signals is going to lose. And unless you have all the signals, access to far more data than you have in your own walls, it won't be enough. And so that is fueling this need to collaborate across partners.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you, Scott. Parbs, we had this wonderful introduction by Scott. Can you please tell us a little bit what is CVS and what is CVS Media Exchange? Because none of us in this room, at least the people in Paris, living in Paris, know what a convenience store is.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having us. CVS is, for those of you who are not familiar with the US market, we're a convenience store, we're a pharmacy. There's 9,000 locations across the US. We're part of a bigger organization, which is CVS Health. We're one of the largest, if not the largest, healthcare company in the US. Our business is predicated on pharmacy. So we have pharmacy at the back of the store, in the front of the store. It's groceries, it's health and wellness products, it's beauty personal care products, cards, gift cards, and so on.
Could we say, perhaps, that basically you can hardly survive in many US cities without CVS?
Correct, you can. 85% of America is within 10 miles of a CVS. So we are definitely local and community focused, and we ensure that we deliver service and value to our consumers every single day. There's 5 million people that interact with a CVS every single day. And the CMX specifically, so the retail media arm, it's predicated on Extra Care. So Extra Care is a loyalty program. It's 90 million consumers. We get a lot of transactional data that's happening digitally as well as physically that we make sure that we utilize, to Scott's point, for the benefit of our consumers, which was your last point.
Thank you, Barb. So you heard it well, 90 million members, right? So one question, and I love it because you talk so much about those consumer benefits. Can you maybe explain how brands can use CVS to Media Exchange to generate those true benefits to your local communities?
Yeah, so look, we work with brands. We work with brands at the front of the store. Our whole concept is, how do you think about retail media to drive discovery of products? Discovery, as well, just given the nature of our business, is of paramount importance. It's the consumer was last on your list, but we put the consumer first on ours. And the reason why we put consumers at the first on ours is everything that we do from a retail media perspective is designed in order to be additive to that consumer experience. If we're not additive and we're not creating the right level of friction in that shopping journey, then the consumer is going to get turned off. No value, no dollars, no profit, no EBIT is going to replace that in any stretch of the imagination. So our core focus is always about how do we add value to the consumer through their discovery journey within the CVS. If you add to that localization, if you add to that convenience, if you add to that all of the different distinguished verticals that we play in, health, wellness, beauty, personal care, adding a layer of friction and, more important, discovery in those particular areas is incredibly important to the brands that we work with every single day, both from an in-store as well as a digital perspective.
Maybe to be a little bit more concrete, can you explain, perhaps, what you do currently with, let's say, allergies that are coming up everywhere?
Yeah, so we whether it's allergies or if you think about vaccines, it's a hot topic, but the allergy seasons will start at different parts of the country at different times. If you think about how we bring allergies and, more importantly, products, or if you think about how we bring message to market, we can personalize that message in such a clear way to the digital consumer, given the amount of transactional information that we have, right the way from the way that they transact and search online, the way that they then use that transaction data and go into our store environments. We know that over 50% of our consumers start their journeys in a digital capacity and then finish in a physical because of the convenience nature of our CVS. So allergies or cold, cough, flu or sun care, right, with sunscreen, we've got an ability to really talk to our consumers in a personalized one-to-one way across thousands and thousands of communities across the United States.
Thanks, Barbs. Going back to you, Scott, there is something I would love you to maybe explain. Maybe I was going to say clarify. You launched cross-media intelligence. Can we make sure that everyone in this room understands, your latest innovation?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to go there, but first,
what is it?
I'm thinking about something you just said, which really speaks to why cross-media matters so much. If I were buying media in, say, 1970, I'd probably be following a mantra of there is a time and place for everything. Because I know in 1970 that if I want to reach my potential customer in the morning, I'm probably buying drive time radio slots. If I want to reach them in the afternoon, I'm probably buying the evening newspaper and placing an ad there. If it's Sunday, I'm buying the Sunday Circular. Everything was so predictable. And for the most part, it was pretty broadcast. But now, in 1970, the average consumer saw something like 3,000 ads a day, and now it's more like 30,000. We are surrounded by advertising that doesn't necessarily look like advertising, all these opportunities to message to our consumers. And like the blindness that we had in 1970 has been replaced by near perfect information. Because in 1970, what would I do if I wanted to buy drive time television or if I wanted to buy evening news? Well, I'd probably buy, pretty useless panel information and apply it to my television buy. But what Parbs just talked about in terms of audience insight, like that is incredible for any of the tens of thousands of different merchants who have their products on the stores shelves of CVS. And so that's useful in buying from his retail media network. But how useful is that to actually then take that audience and buy every place else that my consumers are present? So Netflix or Amazon or, maybe not Amazon, but
not Amazon.
There's like thousands of possibilities where his audience is the new currency. Like, I don't need to guess. I don't need to buy someone's panel data. I know his actual audience, and I can reach them on all these other places. And, like, what an incredible opportunity. So what is cross-platform? Well, in a nutshell, it's the ability to do and measure that.
Yeah, it's fascinating because if you look at it through the lens of the consumer, consumers today expect that too, right? When even when you're going into a store, if we have a store that is, let's say, it's by a beachside town in Cape Cod, right, which is beautiful coastal resort just north of Boston. If we're not selling summer deck chairs and sun care and right that is relevant to that consumer in that area, then we're not doing that consumer at the right level of service. We're not merchandising to that consumer, and data is absolutely powering that. Similarly, we have locations on the Vegas Strip, right? Like, you imagine the kind of products that we stock in that store and what we sell a lot of, right? Like, there's a lot of snacking that happens. a lot of recuperation products, a lot of pain care that also gets pushed. But we've got to be able to think about the personalization experience on a one-to-one level with our consumers. And CVS has really grown up from being an organization that had a singular concept, which is we're going to drive front store pharmacy across all of our different locations, and we've grown, right? There's 7,200 locations that are our own. There's around about another 1,800 that are within target locations. But we can't think like that as a retailer anymore, because consumers are expecting certain products within their local communities that are relevant to them. And if we don't utilize the power of our asset of really understanding the consumer and providing them with the products that they need within their local communities, we're not creating affinity from a brand perspective with those consumers. And that is fundamental to the change that is happening across retail. And we talk about there's no need for a physical retail, there's no need, we can do everything online, The reality is that is not true either. The location is incredibly important to driving significant volume for retail, but more importantly, I have a need and I need it now. I am traveling and I have a need and I need it now. I am passing by a CVS and I'm going to go and pick up that product that I need now. So it's consumers are expecting that. Consumers are expecting that also from an ad perspective, which is to your point, Scott. Yeah.
Well, and Thibaut, this might segue into the question that you're going to ask, but Parbs has said something that hopefully didn't get missed, which is super profound. We all learned marketing in kind of the age of the golden record. And it was believed that, the gold standard would be to build the world's largest spreadsheet on every individual. One row for every person on the planet, hundreds of thousands of columns for every observable, discrete piece of data. And what's super interesting about what he just said was, like, the way you describe the customer experience, it's very clear that vision is kind of antiquated, because Parbs knows, like, he can have perfect records on every individual, but there's a whole bunch of data that isn't necessarily incorporated, that isn't by the row. It's what store are they driving by right now? What is the weather and the season in Boston, Massachusetts? Are they having a heat wave? And should I be showing them sunscreen ads and lawn chair ads? And so this concept of structured versus unstructured data that you're starting to hear about, like, it's all the data. You need to have it all. And it's not just about stuff that you may access through your loyalty programs. It's about how do you forge partnerships to get the other data elements that you need. Like in your case, like if you talk about, what is the weather next to a physical store? Well, who has that? Does the Weather Channel have it? And should you have a partnership with the Weather Channel so at the moment in time you can see it's this user, they live in this place, they're going by this store, and here's the weather there. And that might influence the ad. And so it was interesting, at lunch we were talking about what's the most valuable data. The answer is always all the data. You start to hit an asymptote where the value of the incremental data element starts to be less and less. But it's always the case that if you had more data, you will make a better decision than with less data. And so every marketer's mission should be to think about what is the customer experience I'm trying to deliver, and who has the data that I don't have, that together we can deliver this amazing customer journey.
Let me just riff on that, because I think it's really important, and it actually goes back to your first question, which is around brands and the way in which brands should really be working with us. I've been in retail media for now 7+ years. Okay, so I understand where it's coming from and I understand where it's going to. And one of the biggest challenges that we have in retail media is that we have not done a good enough job explaining how to add value or extract value from retail. We just haven't done it. We've convoluted it with shopper dollars, with trade dollars, with different pockets of pooling, but we haven't truly identified how a brand, a CMO, really extracts value from retail. Because we've got a ton of data. I've got probably the largest loyalty program in the US. Yeah. It's been the longest standing loyalty program in the US. I'm the largest pharmacy in the US. I've got a massive amount of transactional data of the front, like what's happening in store as well as digital. Just utilizing that as a brand and leaning in to really say, how do I understand? How do I get more? How do I drive more value for my business, for our business, and actually more importantly for the consumer? Having that conversation is where the conversation needs to go, because we've been locked in our traditional marketing ways. We've gone, oh, here comes retail media, just as social did. They're going to expect really big budgets, and they're going to demand that you spend with them, but they're not really giving me the value that I need. And we want to change the conversation there, because that's where brands will truly benefit from leaning in and understanding how to extract the value, and retail needs to do a better job of doing that too. Commerce retail.
So I'm super curious. Thibaut's like, can you guys just shut up and let me ask my questions?
Thibaut's got 15 questions.
No, I love that. I mean, I will. Don't worry. I will ask my questions, but you know.
Here, I think you guys do a really great job at this. But you just described this elegant vision of what you're trying to do for consumers that you can take out to partners. But whether it's you or Richard Nunn from United Airlines, I mean, there are a lot of companies that are kind of legacy companies that are doing things in a completely different way. And I would imagine that as you spun this up at CVS, in some cases, the hardest thing to accomplish would be to explain the concept internally and just kind of break the status quo. How did you do that so effectively?
I haven't figured it out yet. I'll be honest with you. Can you imagine trying to explain retail media to a pharmacist? But that's constant. That's my ongoing challenge. In answer to your question, Scott, I just do it and then I ask for forgiveness later. We've just been building this. We've built this very, very quickly. I've been there for 2.5 years. We're going to celebrate our 5th anniversary in August. We've scaled this business pretty significantly over the last 2.5, 3 years. We just go. We've built the team. We drive the team every single day to just do incredibly cool stuff. And we don't see the value proposition of retail media just being a living in a digital world. We see it really thriving in a physical world. We see the store as an incredibly bespoke canvas. So I'm really glad that you guys pointed to that in your opening, in your opener. We see the store as a real interesting concept for us to bring discovery, to bring message to life in that environment. And that creates complexity within an organization like CVS, because there's many, many different people that touch that store that we don't necessarily take into account every single day.
Wonderful. Talking about complexity, I had a question before Scott blew it up with my question, so I'm totally lost. But
this is why you don't invite me to speak in France, isn't it?
I'm going to consider it for next year, Scott. Just joking. No problems. I had one question here, which was to hear you about your partnership with other publishers, because as we said in the opener, it's also very interesting, very important. It's a way to bring what Scott says, which is new, additional maybe data. So how do you do that, for instance, with Pinterest?
Yeah. Look, I'll talk about Pinterest. I think first and foremost, the work that we do with Scott, your team, and Vihan, we push this team very, very hard every single day. But the technology around clean rooms, the ability for us to operate within those clean rooms is fundamental to our strategy. It's core, it's central. We will never move off that because of the data assets that we have and the incredibly sensitive details that we have on our consumers too. So as we think about the growth capability in the next layer, as we start to understand what retail media can truly build, over the last 2+ years, we've been really just structuring our data, structuring our stack, getting our business in a operable manner that can scale and run really, really fast. And I would say, you know, with the partnerships that we've done with LiveRamp, we're in a really, really good place. Really good place. So what's next, right? Because I'm always thinking about what's next. And that's awesome for me. It's not so awesome for my team. Because they're like, hold on a minute, but we need to do that. And I'm like, no, but we need to go there. But one of the big things that is incredibly important for me and how I think about retail media and commerce media is we're moving now into the space of co-creation and collaboration. Co-creation and collaboration. Co-creation of the way in which we operate with other brands, because consumers don't just come to us, they go and get their content, get their information from across the web. Collaboration, because of the data assets and the structure that we have now in our organization, we can collaborate very, very quickly with other partners. And that's the next layer. That's the next level. That's where we see the business moving, is having those right partnerships with the right brands that are going to, again, add value to the consumer, but also add value to the brands that we work with. Pinterest is one of them.
Let me riff off what you just said. Again, I'm going to go back to the rule of 3. So co-collaboration, co-creation. For kicks and giggles, I'm going to throw a third C in there, because you cannot have the first two without control. And that's what, quite frankly, I mean, Parbs, you're in control. Like if you collaborate with CVS, make no mistake, you are agreeing to their T's and C's around how your data can be utilized. And if you're in this room, and I've seen the list of everybody who's in this room, you need to be in control, because you are important. You have valuable data. And if you think for a second that someone's going to work with you and say, oh, just send me your data, and they're not going to federate it and build models to apply on everyone else, then you haven't lived in this industry for the last 20 years. Because for the last 20 years, the power has flowed from the edges, the folks who have consumer relationships because they're a publisher or because they're a retailer or a merchant who has a direct consumer relationship. It's gone to the folks in the middle, and they have disintermediated everyone, and they've controlled the data. And so, like, it's either going to stop, or AI is going to allow those same companies to do it to you all over again. And the only way that you control this, because you have the most valuable data, you have the data that is not accessible publicly, is that when you explore this stuff, and you got to do it, you got to use a clean room, and you have to mandate that you control it, not your partner who's going to federate it and share it and use it for their own gain. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%. And control that end to end. So we're not just talking about the collaboration in the first instance, we're talking about and co-creation, but we're talking about end-to-end measurement too. The measurement stack is also really important when we start to talk about incrementality.
You have 0 seconds to talk about it. Yeah.
0 seconds? Okay, so incrementality is a buzzword right now. However, you've got to be able to control the way in which incrementality operates, how you're driving measurement, and more importantly, with brands, being trusted and transparent in the way in which you're delivering that measurement methodology.
Well, It was a pleasure to listen to you guys. We could have gone on and on and on. We obviously didn't cover half of my questions, so you will have to come another time for sure. But thank you so much, both of you. Thank you. And I will now leave the floor to Stan for our first roundtable with redefining European data collaboration with a cross perspective between retailers and brands.
Thank you very much, Thibaut. So I'd like to welcome on stage, first of all, Christy Boroman from Colgate-Palmolive. Christy is the VP Digital Data and Media Transformation for Colgate-Palmolive in Europe, and has been acting more than 15 years driving innovation in omni-marketing, customer experience, and connected commerce, Colgate and Hills that we discussed about, and VML. Thank you very much, Christy. I'd like to ask, thank you, Stephanie Lübke from Rewe to join us on stage. Stephanie began her professional journey in digital advertising at Burda, then joined Deloitte, and then joined Rewe in 2022 when she is taking care of all projects related to retail media, CDPs, and MarTech. Welcome, Stephanie. And finally, I'd like to welcome Jean-Richard de la Tour from Tom&Co. After more than a decade at Carrefour, acting as the CEO of Carrefour Romania, and then later on as Executive Director of International Brands, Jean has taken a new challenge for over a year now, I think, at Tom&Co, a pet food retailer operating in Belgium, France, and the Netherlands, if I'm not wrong. We'll know more. Welcome, Jean. Okay, let's start. Christy, first question is going to be for you. You are the only, let's say, brand within the group. Can you please tell us a bit more about Colgate-Palmolive?
Yes, of course, and thank you for having me as well. I think what was part of the introduction earlier, I'm an American in Europe, very true. But Colgate, look, I've grown up at Colgate, actually mostly on the Hills pet nutrition business, so it will forever be in my heart, the pets. And now I've been in Europe for about the last year and a half on our oral care, personal care, and home care businesses. And I think in summary, right, Colgate is one of the most well-known brands in the world. We're very proud of that. It's a very purpose-driven company that I feel passionate about, and so does everybody. And the theme here today with collaboration, bigger, faster, all of the things, that definitely resonates with us, but most importantly, it is also for us about the co-creation, like Scott and they just spoke about. So thank you for having me.
With pleasure, thank you very much. I think we heard and Thibaut discussed and presented the Hills case, which I think was truly transformative in the way a brand like Hills Pet was doing collaboration in the US. Can you tell us a little bit more about, well, bringing that over to Europe, what is your data collaboration journey looking like in Europe?
Yeah, sure, of course. I mean, Joe Keating, who sat in the seat last year, would really do it justice on the Hills case and what we brought to life there, right? Which you saw the flywheel. It really was about the fact that we as a brand, we don't know everything about our people, our consumers. Frankly, I don't want a spreadsheet of 1,000 lines on one person because as soon as I get it from that person, it might be outdated anyway. But what we can do, right, as a brand is really focus on who are the right partners, what is the value that we can bring to the table, because what we do know, we know it very well. We have the insights, we have the information, and we can partner. But it has to be also, I think, as Scott said, very transparent, which we'll talk about maybe a little bit later as well.
Thank you. Staying in the pet food industry, Jean, we have saying you've been now in Tom&Co for over a year now. Can you tell us a little bit more about Tom&Co? What are your ambitions for Tom&Co?
Thank you, Stan, for having us, and I'm super happy to have this chat with some key partners for us. And look, so Tom&Co is a pet specialty retailer that exists in Belgium for 35 years now. And it was launched by well-known Deleuze group, who was probably among the one who imported the concept from the US. of pet specialty concept stores. And so we have a network of stores. We have 200 stores in France, Belgium, Luxembourg. And we have also 15% of our business on e-commerce platforms, right? We are at the stage of leveraging our key assets, and in a sector where you have a lot of potential to grow. You have a few figures on the screen. So it's a 7 billion euro market in France and Belgium. And the key assets we want to leverage is probably two things. The first one is the emotional connection pet lovers, pet owners have with their cat, dog, rodents, whatsoever. And this is pretty unique. It's probably a bit like the baby food market, I would say. It's really full empathy and a bonding that is very close to the family bonding, right? And the second one is, and Ilse knows this very well, it's the power of recommendation of the expert. The expert is the vet, you trust him. The breeder, also you trust him. And the advisor, the advice you can get in specialty stores. What do we want to, we have a few slides about what we want to do. This is basically Tom&Co, and what we want to do and how we want to differentiate on the market. Where there's a lot of value, and obviously we have some basics things in retail to perform. We are adjusting a lot the way we interact with the customer, the way we personalize promotion, the way we target, and the dialogue with our customers. We are differentiating against competition with our own brands. This is obvious, but also with top and exclusive services. We deliver in our stores, and I recommend if you have a dog, I don't know if it's your case, Stan.
Not yet, but my children are pushing.
Perhaps a rodent,
congratulations.
you suggested.
And when you will have a dog, you can easily, after the Saturday walk in the forest, come back to a Tom&Co store and wash him, right? The dog wash is a unique service that we propose in our stores, and it makes a lot of loyalty to our stores. And another service we are doing, it's super interesting online, is a subscription model, right? So that, and this is a bit more than 50% of our e-commerce business. So it starts really to grow. It's obviously a lot of frequency, loyalty, and it's something that we care for our customers. They don't have to think, well, do I have a bit of stock for my dog or my cat at the end of the day? And where we want to be the best in class, and this is a journey, it's really the expertise, the advice, the specialist model we want to develop in the years to come, and based on this emotional connection.
Yeah, I think you talked a lot about emotion. You talked a lot about the family and the pet being a member of the family. I think we have a small video that we can share, basically showing your positioning.
Tom&Co. On n'en fait jamais trop pour la famille.
Yeah, exactly, and this is what we want to do, because we want to attract new customers, the younger generation, the 20, 35-year-old that are shopping online as a reflex. And this is what you really well know in the US. This is the pet humanization. In Belgium, and this is the same proportion in France, 60% of the households declare they own a pet. They have a pet in their family. And among them, 45% declares they treat it as a child, right? And maybe more surprisingly, 60% of them celebrate their birthday or adoption day but it's true. This is the way it is.
Gotcha day.
Huh?
Gotcha day.
Exactly, exactly. And so this is the conversation we want to build with our customers.
So you are having a very privileged conversations with your customers. I think you're also distributing potential other brands. So in that sense, as you are building that relationship and that asset around consumers, what is your strategy, or what are you offering when it comes to retail media to the brands you collaborate with?
Yes, we are at the very beginning of this journey, because commerce media, I got the change, and it's a nice one. It's obviously developing with our e-commerce footprint. So we are at the very beginning of this journey, and we are testing and learning on retail media, which is not developed, I would say, at all in the pet industry. But we believe it's a nice way to interact with the customer. What I see is very precise retail media, commerce media we need to build. Because obviously you don't talk to a dog owner with a cat brand. It's basic to say so. And you don't talk to a Bouvier Bernois owner with a Chihuahua product, right? It just basically doesn't work. And you have more and more specific needs that you need to target very well. So the building of the audience, if you want to answer an old cat needs, then you don't do the same thing than for a kitten. It's super basic, but it's super important because we don't have a huge database. We have 1.4 million.
Yeah, I think we have a slide on this.
Yeah, we have 1.4 million customers on board on our loyalty program. We have the subscriptors also that is a fantastic audience. But they don't switch brand easily. When you are happy with a brand, with your dog, with your cat, you don't change easily. So you have to be extremely relevant, and that's a super nice journey for us.
Yes, and I think we were talking about Hills being a use case in the US, but I think that's not true anymore. I think there is also a use case between Hills and Tom&Co in Belgium. Can you tell us about just a few words about what it is?
Yeah, sure. And before joining Tom&Co, I had already a briefing from Nubberly on the Hills fantastic data collaboration opportunity, and it's proven to be true. I mean, we've started to work with Hills last year, and I have in mind 3 campaigns we did in 2024, and the results are super encouraging, I would say. I won't go into too many details, but when we have some results like €1 invested and €3 revenue generated for the first campaign, then we reached €8, and the third one we reached almost €17 revenue generation. And why? Because we have a very highly qualified database, and with a partner that knows extremely well the sector, the consumer, and starts to know our customers well, we can do brilliant things.
Thank you very much. I think that's exactly what we're talking about. Stephanie, you are the team lead for retail media technology at Rewe. Can you maybe, I don't know if everyone knows what Rewe is, so share a little bit more about what it is, what is Rewe retail media market in Germany, and share a little bit more what you're already doing in retail media.
Yes, I can do so. Probably you all know Rewe Group. We have more than 3,800 supermarkets all across Germany, but we also have other brands which we are managing, such as, for example, Penny, which is our discounter, Tom Baumarkt, and also Der Tour. And the retail media department within Rewe Group is a strategic growth area. And what we do is we have a vision that we would like, and Scott, you mentioned it already, we would like to touch the customer at the right place, at the right time. And we really need to have a great databases, right? So we have our own loyalty program, which is in place, and we use the data then in order to activate for our customers. And we also have an omni-channel approach, which means we offer on-site media, such as sponsored product ads, targeted on-site display ads, but we also have screens in store, And yeah, we are currently working on a very, on a great, I think, offsite strategy.
That's looking good. Okay, so I think there's a key challenge for everyone here is like we discussed about it. How do we collect that data? How do we make it available to our partners? I think we can have a discussion on the challenges everyone is facing here around how do I tackle that opportunity and get access to that data. Let's talk about scale first, maybe. I think, Jean, coming from Carrefour, how do you see the challenge for a specialty retailer, which is also very smart about consumers for sure, but in this fast-growing retail media ecosystem, which remains competitive, how do you position yourself in order to get and attract brands, data, and budgets?
Yeah, so we are relatively small in terms of business. We are a 350 million euro turnover company. And so in retail, it's relatively small if you compare to a Rewe turnover, for instance. But it's true that the customer we have onboarded in our program and that are trusting Tom&Co, they are extremely loyal to the stores, and we start to know them very well. We start to know them very well, and we are able to have a special conversation and a very specific conversation on products, on the product they are trusting, buying at Tom&Co. And this is what my message to the brands is: if we manage to leverage this specialty retail positioning from us now, then we have fantastic use cases.
Yeah, so you're not looking at audience sizes or reach, but more at very specific characteristics on the audience or attributes.
Exactly,
to have,
and quality approach, because we can't have our customers overwhelmed by many brands proposal, right? So this is.
I mean, if I could just add, not speaking for your business, but I think that is exactly part of where the co-creation has to come in, right? A brand and a retailer, we both know our business and we're sort of dancing around each other, right? Like we both have data, but if you actually come to the table and have a real conversation about what we're trying to do, we can drive and build brands and growth, and you can drive, and build growth. But I really think that is a critical piece, regardless of which, retailer. And that will also help drive the scale too. I think some of the hardest pieces are sitting in a room, coming up with a use case. It seems small, but actually if we sit together and think about that use case could all of a sudden build. We actually, we have a statement in our organization we call it a 2-2-2, right? So build on the idea, and all of a sudden you can find scale and different opportunities as well, so.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Scott mentioned it, like it's not what data is important, is that all data is important, so that's very clear. Stephanie, on your end, you said Rewe is a grocery retailer, but also operates in many other verticals. As part of being part of this retail media, building the value proposition for Rewe across these different verticals, what challenges come when it comes to equipping these different verticals across different markets in terms of tech, aligning privacy standards across markets or organizations?
Yes, you mentioned it. First of all, it's the privacy part. Because imagine if we as Rewe, we collect data from a customer and he or she gave consent for Rewe, then we cannot send any advertising from Tom's side, right? Because how should a customer understand this? So we always have to match the legal requirements based on the market and also based on the company or the brand. That's the most important thing. Then you cannot randomly stitch IDs to a base table and activate. So you have to make sure that also from the activation perspective, there is a certain standard of data protection. So also a very big challenge. When it comes to, and you mentioned it, scalability. So if you start implementing one system, think about, is this system self-built or do you want to buy a solution? If you do one or another, is this suitable for the first use case, and will it be suitable for further use cases? So something that we always recognize when we implement for Rewe side, we have a system in place which operates quite well. But then it comes to smaller brands and you see that maybe the stakeholders' needs are not that high, but it will be high in the future. So there is always a very big gap between bigger brands and smaller brands, and our goal is to match all the requirements. And the third thing from my tech perspective is the fragmentation of a tech stack. So imagine you have more than one ad serving system covering the needs of a specific type of media. So and you receive back the data, the log level data from one system in a specific data scheme. What would then happen if you receive a second data scheme from another ad serving system, but you have to bring all the data back to one data lake, right? And then you have to activate it again. And you also have to check again whether the client gave consent or not for the specific purpose. So that's things that are quite complex from my perspective.
Okay, thank you. I follow you on this.
You made it sound really easy and simple. So
I think maybe, Christy, you can also elaborate based on your data collaboration journey, how, while talking and thinking data collaborations changed the way you collaborate within your own organization at Colgate.
Sure. I mean, one of the beautiful things about Colgate is, of course, we're obsessed with science and innovation, but we're also very, very much driven by data. So luckily, it is very standard in our organization to be data-led, to talk about it, but that also means, to your point, we don't really like to, talk about it. We don't want to evade anyone's privacy. We need to be very, very respectful of the data that we do have. But I think, luckily, on the flip side of that, and how we work or have been trying to educate within our organization is, for example, clean rooms, right? And what we showed with Hills, that could be very different than what you were just speaking, right? It doesn't have to be a one size fits all. It doesn't have to be who owns the clean room and there's only one way to do it. There are actually many, many different ways, and it's another nice thing about Europe, or a difference I think that I've started to see, is where there are partnerships. There are many more partnerships, so if we can get more people to come to the table to collaborate in a safe way, right, and in a protective way, then you can navigate, and you can use that to help your organization understand the opportunities that it might provide.
Maybe a very good segue for another question that I wanted to ask you is, well, we say you're coming from the US, you're operating in Europe right now, so I think, can you give us a little bit of your perspective, maybe first between how you perceive retail media and data collaboration in the US versus in Europe, and I also would like to understand what you think of the different markets in Europe.
Well, politics aside, let's see, it's a big question, right? I think what is similar is maybe a place to start with, and one of the discussions that we often have is when we're trying to talk about data collaboration and safety, when we're trying to come to the discussion table with a retailer, you're often not speaking to the right people, right? Or, it's our sales team, if you will, speaking to a salesperson, but we're trying to get them to actually add in data collaboration or talk about the value that we could provide together, or talk about, I think, as Scott said, there is a lot of money, right, going into all of these different factors, and so we're trying to get some visibility and transparency. So the number one thing I think that's happening in both the US and here that I've seen in Europe is we need to get the right people in the room and the table. And it's okay, not everybody has to know every single thing that, like you just said. There's no way, right? But that's why you have the right people, I think, at the table to be able to have a conversation. So that's definitely a similarity. Yes, we often say it is fragmented here in Europe, but I think also maybe turning that into another similarity to the US is the technology actually is there. We can be safe. We can connect to IDs. What we are collaborating on is very safe. You will never, ever see my personal data, right? If we're going to collaborate with you, but we have the tools and technology to actually make it work and make it be much more efficient. I think I've seen some willingness, like you just saw from some the media teams and the retailers, like the CVS person up here before, but they might be more willing in the US, but I think it's because we've been talking about it a lot more, and quite frankly, Europe is here to help set the standard for privacy and security. So that might be another reason that we're easing in a little bit slower. But we've got all the tools, we've got great partners. It's absolutely possible. So honestly, I see more similarities than differences, and that's what, I guess part of why I'm here. Like, let's do this. Let's get this done. We can actually, I think, drive growth together here.
Maybe that's a very good intro to potentially Jean, based on your experience at Tom&Co for sure, but also at Carrefour. You have a very wide understanding of what's happening in Europe, potentially Latin America as well. Do you also think that there is a need to put the right people in front of the right person in order to have that discussion? How do you see these markets in terms of collaboration between brands and retailers?
Sure. I'm not a retail media expert at all, I would say. But at Carrefour, I was leading the negotiation and the dialogue with the big brands internationally, globally. So, and what I remember, and this is also what we are doing at Tom&Co right now, is we were looking, as Carrefour used to be, at Walmart best practice in terms of engaging with the brands and generating value. And Tom&Co is today supported by a family office, and they'll invest, who knows very well the sector. They have vet clinics and other pet businesses. And they used to have Chewy in their portfolio. And if you are from the US, you all know probably Chewy, which is now a massive and highly successful company. And yeah, so we want to learn again from what's happening in the US in the relationship between retailers and brands, and not having just pure transactional discussion around leveraging data. Yeah.
Okay, and maybe last one for you, Stephanie. How do you see, retail media, but also data collaboration progress in the DACH region? Maybe define DACH before starting. And do you see yourself potentially at some point doing pure data collaborations with brands, but also with other players?
I think it's quite promising currently in the market, and something that you just mentioned, the data privacy part, yes, it's very hard to, again, talk to legal over and over again, but...
over and over again.
But the good thing about it is that we have the trust of our CPGs, right? Because they know that we are taking care of the data. We're not providing any data to a source that is not trustful, so this is our advantage from my perspective. And we recognize that the demand of data collaboration in the market is growing. And we, in the last year, we implemented some strategies for offsite already, and we recognize that the demand is so high, and also because the inventory on-site is quite limited, and that we really need to move there. And I'm looking forward, because I think there will be many strategies in the future, and I think it's a very interesting topic.
Well, I'm also in charge of Germany in my scope, so if you can push the DACH market to go faster, that's even better. Thank you very much. It's going to be maybe a trickier question, maybe more of a conclusion question. Starting with you, Christy, you are with two retailers here on stage, but potentially a lot more in the room. What would you like to ask from European retailers?
I mean, we talked about co-collaborating, obviously, and co-creation of being use case driven and focused. I think the other big opportunity is we are bringing our money and our data to the table to collaborate on. We have to get transparency and exposure data on that in order to do more of it, right? Because, we've even just named already publishers, retailers, media. Even, Gen AI has commerce opportunities now. So there's only so much money to go around. And I think the more that we can partner with retailers and actually get that transparent data on what it can do for us both, right? Let's be more efficient and effective. And yes, it's about revenue growth, but it has to be about the ROI of those media dollars too. And collaboration is a great way to do it. But come on, transparency, let's both come to the table and work together on some of that, or it's just not going to work in the end.
So you're asking for more ability to measure, to understand where you spend your media dollars.
I need different kinds of data. I need the exposure data to make my real data work.
Okay, very clear. Maybe then moving to the retailers here, do you have a response first potentially, and then a question or an ask to the brands that are here or in the room?
No, look, co-creation, definitely transparency, and this is all about performance measurement. This is clearly what we are doing actually, and what we want to do to make this part of the business sustainable in time for us and for the key brands. And my ask to the brands is just be relevant in your dialogue with our customer, and this is why we need this co-creation phase, and yeah, not to overwhelm our customer with a lot of
interactions.
Thank you.
Use case.
Yeah, I can add something towards the measurement part because this is a wish from my perspective. So Rewe is also working on a reporting platform, and we would like to provide you all the transparency that you need, and we know that. But on the other hand, we would like to shift the focus a bit more far away from the short-term sales uplift KPIs towards more as branding KPIs
or lifetime value.
Yes,
let's do it.
Yeah, I think if you're going to be able to bring national or awareness budget to Rewe, I think that's fine.
Great.
Sold.
Okay, well, thank you. We have a deal on stage. That's pretty good. Thank you very much to the three of you. Please give a big round of applause to our speakers. And now I'd like to welcome Laure on stage for our next panel about matching data, the magic recipe for DtoC and non-DtoC brands.
Thank you, Stan, and hello, everyone. I'm Laure Géry, I'm the head of media at Numbly, and I'm very happy to open the second roundtable of the afternoon, the matching data, the magic recipe for DtoC and non-DtoC brands. And so for this roundtable, we are going to explore the data strategy of both DtoC and non-DtoC brands. And to lead us on this journey, I'm pleased to welcome four remarkable guests. Gabor Peter Kovacs, you are the Global Brand Director for Essity based in Munich, where you drive innovation for the group's consumer brands. Welcome, Gabor. Amandine Martin-Briand, after 10 years at P&G, Procter & Gamble, you are the head of several verticals at Amazon Ads, including FMCG, pharma, luxury, fashion, and electronics, just like that. Welcome, Amandine. François-Xavier Pierrel, you've held leadership roles at Renault, Meta, Microsoft, JCDecaux, and you are now Group Chief Data and Ad Tech Officer, at TF1. Welcome, François-Xavier. And last but not least, Victoria Malika, your career spans key positions across brands and agencies. You are now Global Retail Media Lead at Versuni, formerly known as Philips Domestic Appliances. Welcome to the four of us, and thanks for being here. So, Gabor, we'll start with you. You're right next to me. Can you tell us a bit more about how is data important for Essity? How is it easy or not for you to collect first-party data? And what are the primary challenges that you face in building data collaboration strategies?
Thank you for the question. Just before I start, I would like to share something with you. So last night I actually got 2 emails. One of them is that my flight is cancelled. So I had to scrap for a very early flight this morning, but finally managed. The second one, also as panelists, we got an email that please keep our answers brief and short. And just want to recognize that I got 3 questions in one, but I will do my best.
Thanks. And sorry, there is no coffee on the table. I hope you will manage.
I think the adrenaline will keep me running.
Great.
So the first question was the importance of data, right, and data strategy.
Exactly.
I think I'm talking to the converted in this room and also online, but it's super important. And it's actually very important in multiple functions, whether it's for the internal planning systems, whether it's for innovation, deriving consumer insights, media planning, or digital marketing, which is closest to me. Just sticking with digital marketing, the way I always describe it is that data and data strategy is actually the blood that is connecting and circulating throughout our ecosystem. So it's basically fueling and connecting the website, the eCRM, the search, the social, the e-commerce, and all the other platforms. So it's super, super critical.
Great. I think we have a few slides to explain how you address data collaboration and first-party data collection in particular.
Yes, but that's not the slide showing. But I go to this one then.
Sure.
Yeah, good. So what I try to capture here is a bit on what are why is it important, and kind of is it difficult to collect first-party data? And to answer this question, it's important to say that it really takes an effort. Let's recognize that first, because we need to do it the right way. Just like Stephanie have said, there are laws in place, regulation in place, and for good reasons. And Europe is actually taking the lead here, so we have to do it the right way. Secondly, I also believe that there's difference between data and data. And collecting high-quality structured data is definitely taking a bigger effort. But ultimately, it will fuel our consumer understanding. It will also fuel our media planning and choices, and will eventually also unlock how we can achieve reach at scale and also convert sales at a greater level. So it definitely takes an effort, and I do believe today we will be talking a lot about data collaboration and retailer media. These are definitely factors that can accelerate you on that journey. So something to really, really keep in mind. Now, to also be a bit more cheerful, because I make it sound like, you know, it's the biggest pain in the world. We actually also in a good position because as part of Essity, we are present in multiple categories, multiple brands. And for this reason, we are able to actually collect first-party data at scale. And we also had the advantage that we are able to share learning, see what are the working use cases across the teams. And this way we can also continuously optimize and get better at it.
Thanks, Gabor. So you mentioned that even if it's not a nightmare, it takes an effort to collect first-party data for your brand, in particular because you're not selling your products directly. So I guess because it needs an effort, it's essential to measure the effectiveness of your first-party data. So can you explain us how you leverage data collaboration to measure the impact of your CRM program?
Yes, absolutely. So for this, I think we do have a slide.
And that's the right one.
And that's the right one. So thanks for that. So basically what we have done is we have developed our own ROI model, so to say. And what we have done there, we have combined a couple of different data sources. And arguably, the key one that unlocked it all was actually from data collaboration learnings that we have teamed up with a key French retailer. And through a clean room study that was actually run over, I think, more than a year's time, we tried to actually measure what is the aggregated impact of our eCRM program. So we have been actually looking at if people are in our database, how is the purchase behavior changing over time? And we had some super strong insights in terms of what drives penetration, what drives loyalty, kind of what are the factors that are influencing the eventual outcome. And we have actually then fed this into the ROI model, complemented that with other sources to make it more applicable rather than just one retailer focused. And now we actually have a model that is driving our investment decisions. And we also have something that we can continuously upgrade and basically fine-tune as new learnings become available.
Okay, so this data collaboration really helped you optimize your CRM program, and you're now making decisions based on the learnings that you gathered from this collaboration. Great. So we have another brand with us on stage today, with you, Victoria, from Versuni. what about you? How do you approach first-party data? You have a business which is very different from Gabor's one, but how do you approach it, and what challenges have you encountered regarding data collection of first-party data in particular?
Yeah, so I think I want to start with like one of the biggest challenges that we had. So basically, a few years ago when I joined Versuni, and Amazon Marketing Cloud was like a hot topic for everybody. I really wanted to integrate our first-party data into the Amazon Marketing Cloud. So that was like one of the first ideas that I had, like first challenges that I also approached, because imagine convincing internal stakeholders that you want to share your first-party data with Amazon. So nobody thought it's just a solution, a data clean room, that Amazon is providing. Everybody was so fixated that it's coming from Amazon. It took us probably like months of like internal negotiation to actually convince the stakeholders to start sharing the data.
Which year was it?
Sorry?
Which year was it? When was it?
Probably like four years ago.
Yeah.
4 years ago when I started, that was like one of my first projects. And then once we started collaborating together, and once we figured a way and got the approvals, the privacy concerns, the discussions with the legal team and everything, I actually found out that our 1P data is quite limited as well, because if you're not familiar with Versuni, we are only 4 years old company. So basically, we sell Philips domestic appliances. Of course, like Philips is a huge, well-known brand, like over 130 years of heritage. But after our division was sold, and that was also about 4 years ago, basically we weren't the owners of the 1P data anymore, because it's the Royal Philips that is the owner of the data. So it became like an ongoing process, I would say, for us to set up the infrastructure of having the 1P data integrated, but at the same time, like keep collecting the data through, the different, from the DtoC platform, from the app, etc. So I think it's important also for the brands to realize that even if you don't have this perfect data set at the beginning, I think it just takes so much time also just to get the perfect setup and convince the stakeholders that it's better to kick it off anyhow. So that's what we did, and I think now we're in a situation where the data set is growing, and we can actually use it to our advantage of like analyzing audiences, overlap, the loyalty of our customers between like the app or the Amazon platform. So now we are in this in that time of actually getting the value out of it. But I would say it's been like a really challenging process.
Yeah, I guess so. And congrats, because you understood 4 years ago the importance of clean rooms and AMC, which was the beginning of it. And so you mentioned Philips as well, and the fact that you inherited their legacy, and you inherited in particular their distribution model, which is pretty much mostly offline traditionally, but you moved into a more digitally driven way of distribution and commerce strategy. So can you tell us more about how you are leveraging platforms like Amazon that you mentioned, but probably many others as well, not just for media activation, but also for to build strategic partners in terms of data, consumer insights, and brand growth in general?
Yeah, it's actually, well, Amazon is one of our key partners, and I think it's actually a great example because indeed over the years, I think our collaboration expanded quite significantly. And of course, as you said, like the no-brainer is just, taking the audience data and informing your retail media strategies, optimizations, etc. That's mostly what my team is doing as well. But to that point, you can also take that same audience data and feed it back to the marketing teams, right? Because usually for the activation team, you get some kind of persona from the marketing team, like an ideal persona that we want to target as a brand. But then the question is this the actual person that is buying your product on the platform? So that is almost like a no-brainer of like taking that data of who is actually converting and feeding that back to the marketing teams to maybe adapt those personas or like see if this is what actually is working in real life. So I would say that is like the first example. The other example, more product related, is like analyzing the ratings and reviews. So that is like something. So we actually use like a global tool that is analyzing the key topics, let's say, of the ratings and reviews we see on the platforms. And based on that, we can both adjust the content, for example, so we can highlight some of the key features that people find useful, interesting, and then you can adapt your messaging or adapt your content on the product detail pages. But you can also use it to inform your product development, because you also see what are the pain points that people are talking about, or maybe like some lowlights of the products, and of course, if the rating is bad, then it's even more important to fix that and to inform that. So I think that is like the second example of like how we use the data that we get from different platforms more on the product development side. And I think in general, like there are a lot of other data points that you can make a use of, like for example, again, like search terms within the vendor central, like what is currently trending, again, adjusting your messaging on the platform, or maybe the keywords that you use for the campaigns. Like even, for example, the buy box, like when we lose it, we already know that there's something wrong, maybe something with the channelization strategy that went wrong, Like there are a lot of tools that, or like even things that maybe you don't directly get from Amazon, but you can analyze yourself, like what you see on the platform, on the product detail pages, and in the data sets of either the vendor central or the Amazon advertising console.
Yeah, we'll have an interesting use case later with Bic showing how the data coming from Amazon in particular can even help you optimize a product in itself and the design of a product. So we've talked about Amazon a lot already, but it's my first question for you.
Thank you first.
So to follow up on what Victoria was explaining, let's come to Amazon then. So you are a retailer, but you are also helping brands advertise for their own DtoC, which is a major differentiator for Amazon compared to other retail media players, I would say. So can you tell us a bit more about what kind of advertising mix you would recommend to a DtoC brand?
I didn't have this question. Thank you for asking. So I think I would like to maybe start with non-DtoC and DtoC brand. But overall, what is important to know is that Amazon Ads indeed is agnostic of where we will support generating sales for advertisers. We are here to support advertisers, brands, drive their sale, whether they are selling on Amazon or if they want to drive their sale outside of Amazon on their DTC store or on their offline store as well. So if you look at all those brands, if you are a DTC brand, maybe you are still selling on Amazon, and so we can be seen as a CRM partner for those brands selling on Amazon for this part of the business of their business. And actually, the brands would often have a brand store on Amazon. They would drive their search social network traffic on their brand store, and they will and we will be able to leverage all those audience that went to their brand store, stored on the Amazon Marketing Cloud, on their clean room, to target and to reach them through our DSP. For the DTC brand, so we are offering the flexibility to decide with the signals that we are combining that they are combining in their clean room. We are giving the flexibility to decide which audiences they want potentially to drive on Amazon, or which audiences they want to drive on their own website. So we give the flexibility not only on deciding based on all the signals they will have on the audiences, decided also on the ad format that they want to use, so whether it is video, display, or sponsor ads. We would give also the flexibility on deciding which audience to exclude or where to build lookalike. Can be excluding Amazon audiences, excluding their DTC audiences in order to drive incremental revenue, or to really look at recruiting new customers. So we do have like this kind of ability to drive and provide flexibility and advertiser would use all the signals that we are providing, signals that can come from our Amazon retail signals, but also their signals if they are adding their first 1P signals into their clean room, to combine and get the most of it on what is the retail and media pattern from each audiences and how I'm going to drive which strategy to which audience and to direct to which store.
Okay, so yes, thanks to this, the brands leveraging your ecosystem can build real funnels combining traffic generation to their own D2C, but also maybe later on to Amazon, because we know that many people gather information from a brand on their own website and then they will convert on the Amazon website, for instance.
Yeah.
Continuing on this data topic, François-Xavier, at TF1, you also support brands with a very strong data offer. Can you describe a bit for us which kind of data TF1 brings to the table?
Okay, so before answering the question, just put a little bit of context in what we are trying to achieve. And I was thinking about an introduction, and I think for us as TF1, or TF1 for the French speakers, I think no first party, no party. That's pretty much where I stand. You can take it.
That's the punchline. You know, last year we did a T-shirt for one of the speakers.
No
I
first
think
party, no
you
party.
will get yours.
But
okay.
Put this into our context. We were doing linear TV for ages. We are moving to streaming, and suddenly we are changing our swim lane, and we are facing Netflix and Prime and Apple and all the big guns with more support, more money, more people, more globality. So it's a whole new ballgame for us. So collectively we decided, okay, our CEO says the strategy is this one. What is the data strategy we are going to support and put in place to support the strategy? So the first one is rebuilding our first-party data set and making sure that we can play this game. Because I'm not a specialist of marketing, and a lot of people here are far more advanced into their marketing strategy. Our job as a data and tech team is to be an enabler. You believe in last click? Superb. You believe in first touch, you believe in attribution, contribution. I don't really care. I must make sure that we are able to support you, make data available to fuel your media mix modeling, your whatever modeling, your partner, and be a part of this ecosystem. And I think one thing where we were pretty sure that was the decision number one is we need to be open and we need to be fully interoperable within our ecosystem. And this is where data collaboration is a key asset in our acceleration and transformation. And TF1 didn't wait for me to do it. It was already a part of the DNA. I think we took it to another level where we multiplied our capacity of interaction. So we first redeveloped a whole new, let's say, marketing product called the Graph ID. Graph ID is our audience graph. It's 25 million profiles, 100 criteria per profile. And the question after that is, which pipes do you build to fuel in your ecosystem? And we are working with big agencies. They have some specific means, type of customers. We are working with independent and smaller agencies. We need to fuel them as well. We are working with tech partners like Numberly or other in their ecosystem, and we need to find this way to interoperate. And this is where clean room and collaboration for it really kicks in. So we are working with LiveRamp, obviously. We were also extremely positively inclined to use Abu. Abu for us is a shortcut to data collaboration. And I think we all struggle with the same stuff. The moment you discuss about data collaboration, you end up with DPO discussion, 9 months contract discussion, ending up you're going to steal something, but no, I'm not. And you lose about the value that you're going to create together. So using the insight as a first step is, okay, I'm okay to share. I'm going to expose my data so you can discover it. Then if you're interested in this discussion, we can take it to the next step, and we can really start matching together, delivering insights by mutual enrichment, targeting together, and measurement together. So as far as data is concerned, we use everything we can. We have all the data from TF1 Plus, our streaming platform. We are combining this with all the data we have from our news channel, which gives us different insights, and we're also working with second and third parties. Could be Carrefour, could be Infinity, could be others, to make sure that we also capture signals that we will never have. We only have what we produce as first party, and we need to also leverage the others to make sure that we become even more relevant in our ecosystem. And then, talking about Amazon, since everybody praised Amazon lately, the one thing I really like, and you can quote me on this one, is that compared to the other big American, we are about to share. So we have means to share and to enrich first party, their party, our party, to make sure everybody gets the benefits and a better marketing in the end. That's for the B2C part. The B2B part, just finishing, we are also doing B2C. We are leveraging data collaboration and data at scale for our streaming platform. We are animating like millions of people every day consuming our content. And for us, it's a whole food chain from exposing to a content up to an ad. And we need to make sure that this change is actually making sense and become some marketing revenue or sales revenue with our sales house.
Yeah, and
it was not short.
I'm not sure we are with the 2 minutes. We're okay with the 2 minutes, but no. But yeah, thanks to your data, so you have a stronger set of data, giving the opportunity to be very specific in the targeting and the strategy, but also through your partnerships with retailers, for instance, it's another opportunity to measure the impact of the activations as well.
That's a huge part. I mean, we can be as good as we want on our first party. If we don't have the capacity to prove in the end, it's irrelevant for any marketers in the world. And they will buy one campaign, but they will never come back if we can't prove the results. Yeah. And I think it works for any publisher in the world willing to sell ads on their platforms. Mm.
Absolutely. So, no first party, no party. I think all brands want to party, I'm sure. So what would you say is the best way for brands to leverage their first-party data into your TF1 ecosystem?
Everybody wants to come to the party, but you need to have the right shoes. You need the right shoes or the right outfit to dance.
No sneakers.
No, but if you're working in data collaboration, how many conversations start with, do you have the consent? First question. Do you just have the consent to play the ball game? Most of the time, 70% of the conversation is ending at this moment because they were not prepared to do so. You can think about smaller group, massive group, small companies. You first need to be prepared. So it's a part of control. I think that's what you mentioned. That's the first key element. Being in control from regulation standpoint, but being in control of your pipes and your flows. So I'm just like getting mad with data quality. Can you imagine at TF1 we have more than 1,000 tests every day just to check all the process of data transformation at every stage, just to make sure whatever we give, whatever we transform, we make sure we can control it. We have the right lineage, we have the right level of assessment of our data quality. Otherwise, we can't sell and we can't engage with our audience. So the first point is making sure you're in control of your ecosystem. Otherwise, discussion will be extremely short. Once you have this, you need to have good marketers in your company to make sure they know what they want. We are just enablers. So when the sales house is having the conversation with marketers, you need to be precise. That's also what we ask to our business unit internally. Just don't tell us to collect data. Just tell us what is the meaning, which KPIs, which dashboard, which segment, or which whatever. But you need to have a precise engagement from your business units and marketers as customers to make sure you know what you have to deliver. We can maintain pipes, but we can't do use cases without knowing what we have to deliver. So first case is control, regulation, I would say, then control of your own ecosystem, and making sure you have these pillars to open and take the discussion forward.
Okay, thank you, François-Xavier. So Amandine, coming back to you and continuing on this data topic, Amazon has been in the media business for many years now, but the AMC Clean Room has been launched more recently, but now plays a central role in your media activity. Can you share why the Amazon AMC Clean Room is so important in the Amazon advertising ecosystem?
So, not repeating what has been said, but so Amazon Marketing Cloud Clean Room is very important for an advertiser because it enables secured data collaboration between Amazon ads signals and advertiser signals, and all that while maintaining strict privacy controls. So we do have like all the asset similarities. Willingness to have like maintain control for the advertiser, safety environment. So, and overall, once you have that, for an advertiser, Amazon Marketing Cloud would bring a lot of value behind measurement and analytics that we are able to share, behind consumer insight, and behind the enhanced targeting capabilities that we are offering. So I will not not go into all details, but when you have like the capacity to combine, ingest 1P signals from advertiser, retail signals from Amazon ads, and all the media signals that we can bring also, you are able not only to identify like the best audiences, the best media paths, but also you are able to identify what is the future audience planning, what is the best one, or what is what like you are able to create a custom audience much more granular and decide whether you would direct or drive traffic to Amazon or to your website. So that's one thing. The other part with AMC and with the recent launch that we have been doing in the upper funnel, I think is important to share as well. So we accelerated quite heavily in the past year on awareness solution, mainly behind two innovations. One was the launch of ads on Prime Video, and the second one was also the bridge that we have created with important broadcaster, BVOD, SVOD, such as TF1+, M6+, and others. And all those insights that we are able to add or bring or that the advertiser is able to bring to their clean room would enable to be even more precise, concise, and understand, understand like the path to journey to every audience segment that would be relevant for their brand. And so that gives like an even more precise and full funnel strategy that we can support and bring for advertisers to simplify or to bring more efficiency, because overall the game for everyone is to gain incremental revenue and efficiency.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and talking about upper funnel, Victoria, as the global head of retail media, how do you define the budget allocation, the distribution between lower funnel and upper funnel retail media strategies?
Yeah, so the budget question, the favorite question for a brand. I'm sure everybody would like to know, especially our competitors, how we allocate the budgets between the channels. But yeah, I mean, it all starts with a business objective for us, right? So first of all, like what we're trying to achieve with the money, is it really build the brand awareness, brand preference in the market? Maybe we're launching a new product, so we need more marketing spend to allocate for that product to just promote it to promote it well. Versus if we need to drive the sales, if we want to ensure our visibility on the platform, etc. So I would say, first of all, I mean, that's kind of like the differentiation that we have when it comes to the business objective. Then if we go into the details, so for example, if we think about the retail media budget specifically, we also of course look at the size of the audiences, what the platform can offer, like how are they positioned in the market, and it's same for the brand as well, like how well known we are in the market, what is the competition, what is the cost per click even on the platform, like how much money do we actually need to make an impact, right? So all those things we try to consider where we think about budgeting. But then again, of course, it's getting more and more complex and complicated, and especially with retail media networks, like expanding their portfolio to Amandine's point, like for example, Amazon now going into the upper funnel space. So how do we treat Amazon as a whole? Because, for example, from our Versuni internal perspective, we always consider it as a retailer. So when we even did the budgeting process, it was kind of in a pile of all the other retailers. Now we have to think about it as a media channel as well. So it's like two separate processes where when we think about the split between the media channels and, like we have different measurement frameworks, like MMM studies, for example, or, like different kind of ways to define which channels, like which media channels work best for us. But this is kind of what we consider where we think about spending upper media budget with Amazon or other media platforms, and then totally on the other spectrum, thinking about the retail media spend, and as I said, like, what do we need to ensure our visibility, to still ensure that we have this full funnel within the platform, and that, you know, whatever we do on the upper funnel, we can, you know, take that consumer like through the whole funnel up until the point of purchase, you know.
Okay, thanks for sharing, Victoria, and thanks for sharing your experience. We may have in the room brands that are getting started with their retail media strategy. So you've shared already, all of you, some very insightful insights. Gabor, at Essity, you've been pretty much early testers, adopters of retail media strategies. So from your experience, would you have any advice for brands about to launch their retail media strategy?
Yes, happy to share brand to brand. I think I also have a slide for this.
Yes, absolutely.
We can pull it up.
I'm sure it's coming.
Loading, good. So basically 4 points to raise. I think the first one is choose your platform strategically, because there are a lot of options out there. They all have their own benefits, but you need to think through where is your audience, where does it make sense to participate for you, where you can actually leverage your data. And ultimately, the recommendation is to start small, see what works. When you have your proven use cases, then scale it up. So not rocket science, but it really works. The second one is place great importance on measurement. And of course, the first measurement metric you will probably hear is ROAS, return on ad spend. But I think going forward, it's also important that you work towards a more sophisticated attribution model, where you're following through the full consumer journey, and you're also considering cross-channel, so you can really measure the impact. The third one is around focus on first-party data and personalization, but also don't leave behind scale, because you should not come at the expense. Ultimately, you need to drive your brand and your penetration. And then the fourth one, last one, is if you're not collecting data yet, start doing it. Scott has said it. François Xavier has said it. François Xavier also said it. Super important. And it's not just about collection, but it's also about maintenance. It's also about activation. So really put in the effort, because it's going to be your key source of competitive advantage if you want to grow your brand ahead of the competition.
Thank you, Gabor. And staying on the theme of best practices, François Xavier, can you tell us a bit about what you've learned at TF1 in terms of fostering effective data collaboration with brands? And do you have any use case that you would like to share with us?
I think the first lesson I took is that it takes time. It just takes time. It's a full journey that starts with, we talked about the platform, and talking about another type of platform, but choosing the right partners. They're also part of your acceleration. And all the partners we choose, we expect from them, they help us setting this up into our ecosystem, but the whole, they help us understanding the true value of what they bring to us.
You're talking about tech platform for TF1 here? Or?
I'm talking about the way LiveRamp helps us, the way Snowflake helps us, the way Amazon helps us on whatever we have to do. The world is going so fast. We have a hard time following everything. They are paving the road with their roadmaps. They are sometimes very much ahead of the pace of the market. They need to help us keeping our advantage. And on the same time, they need to help us transforming our organizations. And in the past, we had like transformation program. Now it's transformation every day. So when we were deploying LiveRamp and Habu, we need to learn how to display our Graph ID into it. We need to train the analyst team at the sales house to use it. And now we realize that Habu is not enough. We need to train the sales house to use SQL to allow requests directly into the Graph ID, to have some more advanced insight of what we can display into Habu. So it's a whole learning process. And I think the key learning is it just takes time on our side. So you have to imagine what it takes on marketer side. You have some guys like Heels or L'Oreal, clear strategy, extremely well executed, and you can be part of this ecosystem. But for a large part of our advertising ecosystem, it's just a beginning for a lot of them, even big companies starting to say, okay, I have value with my data, I would like to monetize it, I would like to use it better. But they just realized that since it was not the part of the project, they need to rebuild everything. The platforms are not ready, the pipes are not ready, they need to clean everything, they don't have the consent, coming back to control. So it just takes time. And transformation is on both sides. It's internally to make sure you get the most of what you buy and what you deploy, and also on the external side, how do you help marketers getting better? And you can't do this alone. That's why you go back to collaboration, and data collaboration is a part of this framework.
Okay, so yes, you mentioned the importance of keeping and being up to speed with all the innovations. And so about that, Amandine, what are the upcoming innovations for the next semester at Amazon Ads?
So there are many innovations. I think you have seen, across the year, like Amazon is releasing innovation every quarter, even every week. And I'm not aware of each of them actually, but overall, when you see the pattern, we are going behind like three directions. One is full funnel, so we really want to support, answer consumer needs, customer needs, and enable this bridge. Seamless bridge between upper funnel and lower funnel, and that's what is going to come. One innovation that we released, we announced that is going to be launched in France is the commerce, video ads. So like enabling to drive, let's say, awareness, consideration, and conversion in one ad, where you will be able to add to your basket directly from Prime Video. So those are big innovation in terms of solution. The other part in terms of technology, AI is a big one. We are adding, integrating more and more AI into our ad stack. Whether it is to even more increase the relevancy or the understanding of the audience behavior through Performance Plus, Brand Plus, for instance, trying to make things easier for advertisers as well, and BI. So with AI, SQL, so you do not need to code anymore in order to have your analysis. And understanding like the measurement and the optimization, and so AI is a big one, and the other one is also the integration of a third-party publisher. So that has just been announced. We are launching the Amazon Publisher Cloud that will enable actually third-party publisher, such as maybe TF1, to access Amazon signals through their own clean room and leverage those signals with their media signals in order to guide their brand, the brand they are working with, in their media strategy.
Okay, thank you, Amandine. And because we are running out of time, we're going to skip a few questions, but maybe to finish on this innovation topic with you, Gabor, to conclude, a pretty simple question. How do you see the future of data for CPG?
Like I said, more important than ever. So if you want to win, you need to put huge focus on it.
Thank you. Simple question, simple answer. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for sharing your insights. Thank you very much. And we'll continue for the next session of this afternoon. During this next session, we will analyze a few big four-color use cases. And for this, I'm very happy to welcome Guillaume Auriol on stage. Hello, Guillaume. Welcome. So Guillaume, you are a digital and e-retail expert with over 15 years of experience in companies such as Merck and Groupe SEB, and you are now the Digital Business Development Manager at BIC. And BIC is also known as the French people's official favorite brand. Congrats, Guillaume, and congrats,
yes.
BIC. Marque préférée des Français. Congrats. And Guillaume, we are very lucky because today you didn't come alone. You came with a bunch of collector four-color pen, big pens. I'm sure many of you are fans of the four-color big pens, so please Don't forget to come back after the break because you might have a small surprise waiting for you. Look out for them after the break if you're interested, of course.
You will be able to start your big 4-color pen collection.
Yeah, exactly. So Guillaume, we are very lucky at Numberly because we have worked on some use cases together. I'm thrilled to get to present some of them with you today. And we'll start with our first use case, which is about using consumer reviews as a growth lever. We are talking about one of your most iconic products, the 4-color pen that I'm sure many of you know here. And so on Amazon, you sell these pens through various sorts of packs. And by analyzing the Amazon reviews, you have observed some dissatisfaction coming from the clients who had bought these packs of 4-color pens. And this dissatisfaction came from the fact that when the packs were delivered, they came in a pretty damaged state. So you have used these reviews to understand and observe that there was probably an issue in the way the products were designed. And so you have used Amazon reviews to optimize the design of your products. So in this case, what struck you most about customer reviews and how you could use them even for a design topic?
Yes, so maybe a little bit of context around it. So 4-color pen is very famous in France. We have a lot of trends around students that share them. So we launch decors, product with new texture. So we'll be able to get one afterwards.
Many people have collections of 4-color pens.
And so we've been pushing with my colleagues from that works, the Amazon key account. So we've been pushing for 2 years to have an Amazon exclusive. So it's a set of 10 4-color pens that enables you to start your collection. So it's a starter kit. So we've been pushing, and finally after 2 years we launched this product on Amazon. And the bad news was that the reviews were not really good. And looking at the reviews, it all comes from the packaging. So you have you buy a beautiful pack of 10 pen on Amazon, and you receive something that is just smash. Analyzing the ratings and review, it all comes from the packaging. So really bad user experience for the customers. So we've been analyzing this, and I've been working for brick and mortar companies for years. And the thing was that we trust the comments we saw on Amazon, and we really take it seriously. That's really something that is new for me, because I can tell you that maybe a few years ago, people from marketing just would have said, okay, it's just a comment, just give up and let's continue. But now we are all aware of the business impact, the Amazon algorithm, how it works, so we really need to do something about it. And so we raised the case internally, and everyone was really involved in solving this. So marketers were involved, supply chain, packaging team, revenue growth management team also, and we finally changed the packaging in a few months, and now the ratings and review level is at the level we expect, so with a good ratings and review for this pack of products.
Interesting. So the ratings have improved. Have you seen any impact on the business aspect of it?
Yes, I would keep the figures for myself.
Okay, okay, sure.
But
it's better.
yes, we see the impact, and I'm here because it's a real case for us today. Yeah. So we are really paying attention to it now.
Great. Moving on to another case, which is also related to reviews, actually. It's a case that we have launched very recently together. It's a proof of concept, and it's still ongoing. So it's early stage, but we really wanted to share at least the concept of it with you today. So for this use case, we have used a technology that we have developed at Numberly, which name is Review Genius. And the objective of Review Genius is to leverage the reviews that are written by users related to a given range of SKUs, to use AI to analyze the content of these reviews, and to identify through AI the positive insights that are mentioned by the users, who are satisfied with their product. So we identified these positive items, comments, and we gather these learnings, and we use these learnings to optimize the product pages of these specific SKUs. So we optimize the title of the page, we optimize the description and the bullet points. And the objective of these changes, the optimizations, is to increase the click-through rate on the pages and the conversion rate ultimately, and thanks to this, to optimize the organic ranking of these product pages on Amazon, and thus keeping improving the conversion rate. So, as I mentioned, it's still a very early stage, but is there any insights that you could already share with us today?
No, too early to say, but same as the first case. So we use the, let's say, power of ratings and review to enrich the content and to improve the overall user experience.
Great, thank you. So you will come back in a few months to present the results.
With pleasure.
Let's move on to the next use case that we wanted to share with you today. We've had the chance a few months ago to work together on what we could call a consulting mission. The objective of this mission was to help you scale in your retail media efforts. You had already launched some previous initiatives, but you asked our support to conduct this mission and build a roadmap. So the result of this mission was a clear roadmap and 10 use cases to drive growth, especially related to retail media. So we will deep dive in one of these 10 use cases right after, but before going into the details, can you tell us what concrete impacts have you seen since the definition of this roadmap?
Yes, so maybe the first point is to say that before this mission, everyone used to have an opinion. Now we have a roadmap, a clear RACI and role responsibilities, and this changes everything, in fact, because retail media was spread everywhere in the company between marketing, trade marketing, sales, business development. So in this mission, we gather all the teams, with the support of Numberly, of course, and we make people talk together, create this roadmap with clear objectives per category. We don't only sell pen, we sell lighters, razors. So we assign specific goals to retail media on how it can support the overall strategy. And then with this clear roadmap, we were able to, not reinvent the wheel each time, because it was one of the pain points we have. So first point, and maybe the last one is that and it's something we didn't expect, but we really increased the expertise in retail media in all the people that were involved. And now we have a clear ownership on retail media. We have people that are experts in retail media, so when we do the follow-up, when we talk about campaigns, everyone understands what it's all about. And I'm really pleased now to see that people from everywhere in the company are really at ease to talk about this campaign and put it in their marketing plan. So yeah.
So they are pretty much convinced about the utility of including that in the plans.
Exactly.
Great. So one of the outcomes of this roadmap, one of the use cases that we had identified, was to implement and launch a retail media campaign dedicated to blade excellence. So we have designed together this campaign. It was an on-site and off-site retail media campaign based on targeting Carrefour's ecosystem and data. So can you tell us more about what were the key success factors behind this first retail media campaign with Carrefour, and in particular, what did you learn about the combination between off-site and on-site activations?
Yes, so first I have to say that blade excellence is the word for shaver.
Yes.
It's the internal jargon we have at BIC. So we run this campaign with two, on-site and off-site media. Both doesn't serve the same purpose, so it was really a complementary campaign. So with the off-site parts, we were able to create segments, target people regarding demographical data, behavioral data, because we have access to a lot of transactional ones, so it was really interesting for us. And I have to say, I was talking with Paul just before this session, and we've launched other campaign after this one, and we see that what we've learned was really, happening again. So it really confirmed what we've learned. So it's really good for us to have this really, stamped. So it's really, really good for us. On the on-site part, it was the most tricky one because it's really battle category. So we were in a peak of communication also. We are lower in the funnel with this kind of activation, but so it was a good complementary campaign with having both on-site and off-site.
And so are you replicating this kind of use case to combine off-site and on-site activations?
No. As I told, we use the learnings to do differently. Okay. So we do not replicate exactly, but the learnings are good ones. So we leverage on it.
Great. Thank you so much, Guillaume. Thank you for sharing these insights with us today. It's now time for the break. So you will have approximately half an hour break. Please don't forget to come back 5 minutes before 4:45. And your surprise will be waiting for you. First come, first serve. So don't wait.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks a lot for being here, and welcome after this break. I'm very happy, very delighted to share the stage with Laure today. I'm Thibaut from LiveRamp. And so we have been talking a lot about the shopper, who is key in this retail media journey, but actually the consumer that is at the core of what we do, all of us, is also a shopper. And so I'm very happy to have this session because we are going to host panelists who actually come from companies that are at the intersection of both the shopper journey and the traveler journey of the consumer. And so I'm very happy to welcome on stage Christine from Tripadvisor.
Welcome, Christine.
Christine, you are the Global Vice President, Commercial Business at Tripadvisor. Yes, perfect.
Yes. Welcome, Christine. I will call Manant Maheshwari, who is the Global Retail Media Director at COTY. Welcome, Manant. Thanks for being here.
And we have Paul from Uber Ads. He's leading international for Uber Ads. Welcome, Paul.
Hello, Paul.
And so hopefully everyone has a pen, a big pen. I think the session will be amazing, so don't hesitate to take notes. And, so I will start with you, Manant. So I remember FX from TF1 saying that with no first-party data, no party. So you are part of the COTY group. You have a portfolio major brands, but not necessarily selling your brands directly to the consumers. So how important is the retail media strategy? How important is shopper data in your strategy, potentially to combine or complement your first-party data?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the question. And for those in the audience who are not familiar with COTY, we're behind some of the world's most iconic fragrances. Think about CK1, think about Boss Bottled, Gucci Flora. These are certain fragrances that we manufacture and sell. But indeed, as you said, we don't sell any of this directly to our shoppers. And therefore, we manufacture products, we manufacture dreams, but we don't exactly know who's buying this product. And that's where retail media really comes at the center of our digital media strategy as it stands today. We've, over the years, started with shelf visibility, making sure that our products are visible at the point of sale, when retail media was born like that. But today, we've gone beyond. Retail media really, for us, is precision marketing at scale. We're equipped with technologies, partners who are really helping us develop bespoke strategies that go from awareness right to the point of sale in order to understand who our shopper is, what they need, and deliver the right ad at the right time to the right shopper.
And so your title actually is head of retail media, but like, how do you see it evolve to commerce media in general?
So it's all about, digital media was born with probabilistic media. We had Google, we had Meta, selling ad inventory and targeting based on interests and more or less behaviors. Now we have, with retail media, likes of Amazon started, selling the possibility to target ads based on what people shop. And going further, now we have other actors like Uber and Tripadvisor and Chase, and there are financial media networks, PayPal. It's all about going from probabilistic to deterministic ways of targeting ads to your shoppers. People are making clear decisions of purchasing things via retailers, of booking travel, of booking trips. And this allows us to really understand the way they consume, not just what they're interested in, but the way they consume, when they consume it, and where they consume it, in order to really run these precision marketing campaigns at scale, no matter just at the point of sale, but right to the top. The era of spray and pray is over. We're not in the era of broadcast television anymore. But of course, television is still extremely, extremely interesting and impactful. And if we're able to target television ads based on the way people shop and purchase and where they put their money, I think this is a winning formula for everyone involved.
So Manant, you started to explain the transition from retail media networks to commerce media networks. I think it's a strong illustration of how retail media is evolving. And another illustration of this is the birth, I would say, of travel media network. And Christine, at Tripadvisor, you're one of the great examples of travel media networks, even though it's not your historical background, I would say, as a brand. So at Tripadvisor, you act as a key intersection point between travel planning and purchasing behavior in particular before travel and in transit in the airports. So could you tell us about how you moved from a travel advisor to retail media?
Yeah, hi everyone, Christine McGuire. So I run the commercial teams globally at Tripadvisor, and what that means is our enterprise brands and destinations that we work with, small and medium business partners, everything from hotels to restaurants to experiences and things to do in destination, and then strategic partnerships with platforms and AI companies. It's funny, Tripadvisor has been around 25 years. This is our 25th anniversary. It was born in 2000, and it actually was always a travel media network. I just don't think it was ever coined that. So we built a huge audience of over 400 million monthly active users and a two-sided marketplace where businesses were claiming their listing, reputation managing that listing, and then ultimately getting a lot of bookings and business from that. And the first product we launched in the early 2000s was price comparison, which is effectively us taking high-intent audiences and driving those to hotels and other websites to ultimately book. So for a long time, we've actually been a travel retail media network, but it was never coined that until the growth of retail media networks across the commerce sector. And if you really think about Tripadvisor, you think about reviews, but we really take everything from inspiration and guidance to planning a trip right through to booking. So there's so many intersection points for us to meet that consumer in a time of purchasing behavior, in an inflection point of trying to get a really high stakes, high confidence decision, and make the right decision backed by UGC and user reviews.
Thank you, Christine. So I'm now turning to Paul. Paul, let's come to Uber. And as a commerce intermediary, Uber has been one of the first non-traditional retailer to launch its commerce media network, and it has proved actually incredibly successful. So can you describe the wealth of your data and how you can leverage those data to improve the customer experience?
Sure. So I'm Paul. I look after the ads business outside of in the international markets. And my Uber rating is 4.76, which is not very good, by the way. Just saying. If you want to check your Uber rating, I'll tell you how you're doing it later. But it's an interesting data point, that actually. There's a whole story there. I think when we looked at building the ad business, we suddenly realized, I suppose, as a business, what the range of data we had, and what we wanted to do is work out how we link all that data together. But at the same time, and going back to some of the other panels, ensuring that the consumer came first. You'll notice on all of the Uber platform, there's very little interruptive experiences. The ads sit in the units. They do not get in the way of you getting an Uber or getting an Uber Eats delivery. And that is a consistent policy that we're always going to have as we build the business up. And then when we look at the data, I guess we've got three areas where we look at. Firstly, the account data that you have. So, where you're based, what country you operate in. We have a data point called primary city, which is knowing where you mostly use your Ubers. So if you're a resident in Paris, then your primary city is Paris. In my case, my primary city is probably London, although I don't spend a lot of time there at the moment. So you've got that, you've got credit cards, you've got what phone you have, that type of thing. But then we have, we guess, two elements. One is the data we get from our mobility side of the business, and the other is the Eats side of the business, and then how we combine that. So let me give you an example. We have every single user ID across both Uber Eats and Uber Ride, so we can combine the data very effectively. And then on the ride side, you have where you're going. So are you going to an airport? Are you going to Charles de Gaulle? Are you going to a Taylor Swift concert? Are you going to an Oasis concert? And now, how do we know you're going to Oasis or Taylor Swift? Very easily, because we know what dates you're traveling and you know the destination. So the waypoint data that we have is pretty impressive. And actually, in many cases, a lot of campaigns can only need that waypoint data because that's the consumer intent. We can layer on other data, of course. We can look at people who've been to music venues in Paris over the last 12 months and target them. Or people, luxury shoppers, which we'll talk about later. There's a lot of stuff we do around luxury as well. On the Eats side, then we can combine it with whether you bought from McDonald's or whether you like, upmarket sushi restaurants. And then you can layer the two things together so you can actually create audiences on the back of that. And it's amazing. I don't think we're still learning about data, even 2.5, 3 years into this business. We're still finding things out. Like, for example, lots of people use Ubers just to go to car dealerships or pick up from car dealerships, which is either because their car's gone wrong or because they're thinking about getting a new car, or a combination of the two. That data is just no one really realized we had that data, perhaps. So there's a lot there, but that's how we look at it. But the key thing is always consumer intent, and there's stuff we don't do with data as well. We won't allow our data to be used for certain things, and that's a policy decision that we make.
Do you use ratings as a source of targeting?
No, not yet. I'll be in trouble.
Okay.
Because the average rating is about 4.83 and I'm below
When you have a good grade, maybe you will use it as a targeting.
Yes, yeah, when I get better.
Great.
I think I'm far below.
So Manant, you shared with us some insights about your data strategy. Can you now tell us how you leverage clean rooms at COTY? Do you use clean rooms, and how does that contribute to your strategy of precision marketing at scale?
Absolutely. So we were first movers with Amazon Marketing Cloud. Amazon is a big retail and media partner for us, and therefore, when Amazon Marketing Cloud came out, just the possibility to, build that entire consumer journey throughout the different touch points from television until the point of sale, that was a first possibility for us. We'd never had this possibility before. So we've been using that extensively to analyze user journeys, to be able to also do sequential advertising. Somebody who's seen an ad on television can be served another ad on the open web. Somebody who's seen both of these ads might have a higher bid for their search ad. So there's all of this that's going on. Onboarding first-party data, we don't have much of it, but the little that we have, we're starting to onboard that first-party data directly onto Amazon also to see how we can go further with that, building lookalikes and just reaching shoppers who have the highest affinity, not necessarily aligned with just the standard social demo targetings that we tend to have as manufacturers of products, but really understanding what the brand adjacencies are, and when somebody purchases product X and product B, they're more likely to purchase a CK1 perfume. Like, being able to build that is absolutely vital to our entire strategy. And then using those learnings to also deploy it across other media channels. We'd love to also, of course, knit other media channels, other digital media channels into a clean room, but this is, I think, the next project for us.
Okay, so for now you're leveraging the clean rooms provided by the retailers, but the vision would be to have your own clean room and combine everything.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Manand. So Christine, so we just heard, notably from Paul, the magnitude and the richness of Uber's data, but I'm sure Tripadvisor too has wonderful data assets. And can you please describe maybe how you leverage those data to better collaborate with brands, with advertisers, and if you have some concrete collaboration examples that you could give, that would be awesome.
Yeah, data really powers everything we do across Tripadvisor. If you think about search behavior, filtering, destination browsing, right through to like content engagement, we look at all of those signals and really productize those for off-the-shelf segments that we use obviously for our advertising partners, but then we really use it for our booking intent, our experiences business, our hotels business. We also do predictive and outcome-based models that the most valuable one, as you can imagine, is booking intent. So really building models based on what our advertisers are looking for. And then obviously data collaboration, we're looking to do a variety of things with re-engaging lapsed users, to converting people that have only come to the site once, to building loyalty over time. So some examples are that one. In hotels, we've done a lot in that space where we've really taken fly-by users and converted them to bookings, and then ultimately built the loyalty ladder over time. Beauty, we work with a big beauty partner that has travel, retail, and airports as a really big goal of theirs. And it does a lot of things. We built a data bank for them because data is such a hard thing to get for beauty retailers, and it really serves one as sort of new business and fueling that airport traffic, but also serves as a funnel for e-commerce. So, really leveraging that data over time to build loyalty with those users. And then, we have a content studio called Wander Lab, and we work with destinations around the world. And we activated at the Outernet in London about a year ago, really bringing an AR experience backed by trillions of data points from Tripadvisor to really, take Abu Dhabi to the Outernet in a really, really immersive experience where people could sit and understand what Abu Dhabi had to offer. It ended up to be so successful that they're transporting it to Vivatech this week. So I just came from Vivatech a couple of hours ago, and then to Hudson Yards in New York in 2 months, and then in Mumbai in October. So we really leverage data across the full cycle, across all categories, both consumer use cases and product use cases.
Thank you.
Impressive, thank you, Christine. And so, talking about successful use cases, Paul, could you walk us through a standout campaign that you would have in mind to help us understand maybe the key measurement takeaways and maybe any surprising learnings and insights that you uncovered?
I'll give you a couple. I'll give you 2 examples because they're slightly different. One's more of a retail media with brand example, but one's more commerce media. So the first one is we do a lot of work with L'Oréal Travel on their targeting to airports. And obviously, the great thing we know is that someone's going to an airport. That's very clear in the data set. And the experience of the airport is exactly the same for everyone. You go through security and then you go through duty-free. And we've done a lot of work on this because airport trips generally are a bit longer. So the engagement time potentially on the ads within the Uber app is longer as well. And we've also decided, we also work with L'Oréal on creating add-to-wallet features within the ad itself. So the ad basically opens when you start your journey, when you get in your car, and then it evolves through the thing. There's 3 cycles to it. And at the second and third cycle, you could click through and get a add to wallet feature, which meant that when you arrived at Heathrow or any of the airports we worked on, you would be able to redeem that at the point of sale for a discount or for a free sample.
So the content changes?
The content
through
changes,
the
yes.
cycles.
You think about the Uber ads, it's a single ad throughout the whole of the Uber app. So you only get one advertiser per app, per journey. Completely viewable, no disruption or anything like that. And the ad unit changes, but it's not clickable in the first one, which is the dispatch screen, because obviously if you clicked out, then you wouldn't get an Uber, which is not a great user experience. Even advertising doesn't win on that one. Yeah. But then the next 2 units are smaller units, but they are clickable. So I think that's a really good example. Simple data, but very effective, and it drives through to a transaction. On the other side, we have our retail media business on the other side, which I suppose is Uber Eats is much more like a retail media, traditional retail media business. And what we've done, we did some work with Pizza Hut in the UK, where they actually created a game in the ad unit on Uber Rides, which was about a new pizza topping that they were doing. And it was like a Space Invaders game. It's like, occupy yourselves while you look at your Uber app. And then that linked into transactions within the Uber app itself. We drove 25% new eaters. The ROAS was, I think, 9.5%, if I remember correctly, but I probably got that one wrong. But we created something just on the journey ad side, i.e. the bit on the ride side was a significant revenue just on purchase there. So it goes to show, I think, that in our ecosystem, we can have a brand higher end funnel, the higher part of the funnel all the way through to transaction. So those are the examples, I guess, but hopefully give you a flavour for it. A lot of it's on our website if you want to have a look.
So maybe to bridge the gap, Christine, you have a long-standing relationship with Uber. Could you describe what is the type of integration that you have with Uber and how it improved the value of the consumer journey?
Yeah, we've been working with Uber in a variety of ways for many years. I mean, who doesn't need transportation when they travel, and who doesn't like to eat when they travel? So those 2 things are really important in the travel journey. I mean, we've done everything from, leverage and license our content and our data to enrich the UX of the Uber experience, to looking at use cases in destination to be able to push notifications through our app users, to use an Uber or get an Uber discount whenever you land in an airport. So there's a variety of different ways that those 2 massive segments intersect with the entire travel journey when it's a long haul or candidly when a lot of our traffic is also local and doing things around home.
So, Paul, Uber has a unique position in the way it engages with its customers. Can you explain us how do you leverage, in particular, post-checkout attention? Because it's an important differentiator from Uber. So how do you leverage their post-checkout attention to achieve enhanced brand recognition?
So I'll just start at the top. Attention is really interesting on Uber because we've already done some work with Lumen on this, looking at how people engage both on post-checkout ads, which I'll come to in a minute, and also on the Uber Rides app. And what we're seeing, we knew that the ads are exposed for around about 2 minutes of every journey. Average Uber journey is about 25 minutes. So you get about 2 minutes of thing. If you think about your own Uber experience, you probably go back into the app, checking that the driver's going the direction you want to go, or whatever. It depends on how controlling you are about being a backseat driver or not. So we know that people keep on going back, but what we weren't clear about is how much attention they were getting. And the same is true on post-checkout as well, because when someone's made a commitment on Uber Eats, they're looking at the map and seeing when the rider is going to arrive with their food. So both of those attention points, I think, are very powerful. So Lumen did this study, and what came out of the study is that we think our ad units are getting what they call attentive seconds. They've come up with this model called attentive seconds, which Lumen have created. And we've got the second most attentive audience or attention relative to YouTube pre-roll. And not really that surprising, but that was across Uber Eats and Uber Rides. And what we've also noticed is obviously that increases brand saliency and brand awareness and brand favorability quite significantly because you've got the attention, you can do it well. So post-checkout for us is a very important area. It's growing rapidly. We have a lot of entertainment companies loving it because it's a natural thing. You're going to order food, it's going to be delivered to your house. What are you going to do next? You're going to watch, maybe watch YouTube, or you watch a streaming show or whatever. So we think that's a big area for us, and it's been consistently popular since we launched. But I think we've got a lot more to understand this whole attention economy and how that's going to work for retail media, because I do think there's a big opportunity there.
Definitely.
So Manant, you are surrounded by companies who have a lot of data, and so in your wish list, what would be an ideal use case that you would like to put in place with either, I don't know, Tripadvisor or Uber?
I'm going to need some time to answer this. So first of all, I think I'm extremely, impressed, and the opportunities are really endless using the data that you have, and the data that others in the room have. Like if I could, like we sell sunscreen, we sell fragrance, we sell beauty products. Like if I know a person who is planning travel, this person is planning travel to a sunny place, I can use that data point to push sunscreen to them. If I know a person is on their way to the airport, I can use that data point to push them, fragrance or an offer like what you mentioned just moments ago. There's, we've spoken about Carrefour. We have Rewe in the room. These actors, they know what other products these people buy, right? Like if this person who's planning to travel also buys nappies, I know this person has a child, and then I can even push sunscreen for children to these profiles. So I think the opportunities really are endless with retail media, But finally, it all comes down to data collaboration, right? The possibility to have a clean environment where we can put all of this data together and be able to make these bespoke audiences in order to activate via the platform of our choice. Because retail media, let's be honest, was born as, a walled garden. But if you think about the history of digital media, how many walled gardens have succeeded? Facebook struggled for a while. They acquired Instagram, they acquired WhatsApp, they really invested a lot of money. Amazon, extremely strong walls. TikTok, extremely strong walls. So if you want to build a walled garden, you might as well have extremely strong walls. But I think where the real opportunity lies is finally data collaboration, because for me the difference between selling inventory and selling data is also, selling inventory for me is like selling pieces of land. There's only so much to go about. Selling data is like selling condos, think Dubai, think skyscrapers. The opportunities are really endless. Being able to put all of those data points together in order to target the right product to the right shop at the right time, I think this is in the interest of all of us who see millions of ads every day. Sometimes they're intrusive, sometimes they're absolutely not relevant. So if all of us could actually see products that are relevant to us, that we would like to consume and would make our lives better, that works for us as consumers. And for sure, it works for us as marketers if my ads can be visible, if my ads can be brand safe, which a lot of these retail media and commerce media players offer. But most importantly, if I know exactly who's seeing my ad, I think that is really the crux of the game, and something. It's a winning formula for really everybody. So that's my piece. I think we already spoke about transparency and measurement standards. So of course that's at the middle of all of that. But over and above that, it's really breaking down those walls and being able to put all of those data points together in order to target the right product at the right time. Performance media at scale.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the three of you. We have a few minutes left if we have questions in the room. I don't know if we do. Perfect.
This question is for Paul. I'm curious how you're thinking about AI and agentic AI shoppers that are going to shop on my behalf, because for an event like this, or for going to Cannes, there's only so much I can do in terms of being in store. But there's things I forget on the last day that I want to come that afternoon. And I think there's such an opportunity to disrupt a space that in many cases Amazon has owned in my heart and mind, but it takes a day or two to come to me, and I don't have that amount of time anymore.
Okay, great question, thank you. AI for us was a combination of things. Obviously, we use it a hell of a lot just on improving the Uber experience, because all those things behind the scenes in terms of making sure you get to your destination at the right time is all part of it. When it comes to other things, though, I think there is opportunity to think about suggestions on the Uber Eats platform into using AI for that type of thing. The interesting thing with Eats platforms is that the vast majority of people go on there and have no idea what they're going to eat or order. They just know that they're going to have a delivery. And there's a lot of people shaking their heads. So it's obviously true. We estimate it to be 50-60% of people have no idea. Now, ads are part of the choice there, but I think there's more we can do with AI on that area. So if you wanted to choose a bunch of things, you know, I like this type of food, where would you recommend? Those types of things, I think, is where we would go. But the key thing for us is that, you know, we just need to keep providing the quick service that people want. And so AI can be it's an enhancer for discovery and a back end for delivery, I guess, and that's how we think about it.
Just to add on to that question, how are you thinking about the shopper that goes and picks it out for me, and where you exist in the sort of...
Yes, okay, so in that context, I mean, obviously there are apps, there's a whole ecosystem behind the back end where, and it varies a lot by actually retailer, how those shoppers, the pickers pick up the stuff and do all that stuff. And that's, you know, that's an area where, I mean, we work with so many different retailers and so many different restaurant partners. There is no consistency in that area. So that's just something we have to work on. We train the teams and we work with our partners on what they do. So I think the innovation there will probably come more from the partners than it will come from us. But there is a lot of innovation going because there's more. One thing that's really interesting is that we're moving perhaps away from just impulse purchasing on a delivery platform like ours to actually people doing full shops on them now as well, which was never the case when we first launched. And that changes it because the SKU numbers suddenly become bigger, the packages become bigger, and you have to do more complex shopping. So there's a lot going on, but I think AI will come to us from other partners as much as it will come from ourselves.
I can add my perspective on the travel side for agentic AI. I think travel is ripe for disruption when you really think about all of the touch points, all of the loyalty programs, how cumbersome it is. I mean, you go over 30 sites during your travel journey and about 60 days on average to book. So I think agentic AI over time will have a huge impact in making that more seamless, but it's going to start with the low stakes purchases, like a restaurant booking or an experience, probably not the flight or the hotel until you get really confident in the next 12, 18, 24 months, who knows how long it's going to take. But we're in talks with all of the platforms to really integrate to their agentic AI search and how we can, surface our experiences, our bookings to those users at the right time. We're also looking at multi-formats. So everything is on your app or on websites, and voice and wearables, I think, are actually going to have a huge part in the travel journey, whether it's booking or coming here and looking at the Eiffel Tower and seeing things through the lens of wearables that give you a guided tour and make that experience that much better. So, AI, I think, is going to disrupt the travel space in a very big way, in the way, on-demand streamers and retail media is today.
Thank you, Christine and Paul. Any other question in the room? Yeah. There is one. Yeah. It's coming.
Thank you. I'm definitely in that 50 to 60% of coming onto your app or an unnamed competitor's app to make those decisions. And I was just thinking to myself the other day, seeing an ad in that moment, and you're right, it is a super captive moment. Seeing an ad is wonderful, but I was actually thinking, is there any scope, or do you have any plans in the future to embed content into the app? So a perspective of maybe an expert or someone that's...
Yeah, I mean, we've done bits around this. The key thing is working out what the consumer will accept relative to, because the purchase, yeah, as you say, you get on there, you don't know what you want, but you also want to get it pretty quickly. So I think we've always just trying to work out what's the most seamless consumer experience while providing the choices. We do provide more choices and things on the app now than we used to. We're obviously tying other things into the app as well, so you can book, in the UK, you can book flights and trains on the app as well, which is a different model to us, but that links back into purchase. So I think there is areas where we're looking at that, but it still comes down to what's the time from someone going onto the app and to the order, and that's the most important thing. And hopefully we can guide people without putting, I think we wouldn't put too much content, but there may be some ways we could do something, recommendations and beyond. And ratings do help that as well with a lot of the restaurant partners that are on there. That's a big thing.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think we had a last question.
Hello, also to Paul, sorry. So can you share your experience in why you decided, like in Uber, to have actually internal ad stack, not external ad server like you did before? And if you do this like now, these days, would you choose the same strategy as well? Thank you.
Well, actually, we've worked with third parties and we've worked with our own stack. We play, I mean, I think if you look at our business, so the restaurant business, which is a search business, essentially, that search business was always going to be integrated into the main platform, whatever happened, because it links into how every merchant exists on the platform. So as managers, we call it there, is that there. So I think the debates when we first launched were, do we use for our rides app, do we use third-party ad serving, or do we do it ourselves? Several things about it. We tested third-party ad servers. The challenge is obviously, again, going back to the point we made earlier about user experience, it doesn't always work. In a world of publishing, where you're doing a browser and you're downloading a page, it doesn't matter too much if the ad comes in a bit latent. It does make a huge difference on an Uber app. So therefore, we ended up deciding to have our own internal ad server because it made sense to do so. And it means that it's seamless. And even when we integrate with third-party trackers or other third-party solutions, we again have to make sure that there is no disruption. So I guess my advice is, I think we've definitely gone the right way. I think it depends on your consumer experience, what your consumer is prepared to put up with and what you may be able to put up with. But in our case, third-party serving wasn't the right thing. That being said, we work with Instacart in the US on our Carrot Ads, their Carrot Ads product for our sponsored items, and we work with Criteo in other markets. So you can use it where appropriate, third party, but again, they aren't necessarily business critical or consumer critical moments when someone looks at a menu. It's not quite as much as a ride experience where you could disrupt the ride. So we'll keep building our team. We have a dedicated team within Uber who does this. But we will work with third parties as appropriate. So it's not a no ever, but it will be where it makes most sense to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think we have a question online.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry, Paul, because it's for you again. But kind of following up on what you were talking about, the partnerships, the question online says, Uber announced today it has a new partnership with retailers Dick's Sporting Goods and Golf Galaxy to bring more products to Uber Eats. How do you see these partnerships affecting your ad platform and data collaborations?
Well, it's a continuation of the whole quick commerce world that we're now in. So I'm not one. We have a variety of different partners in the UK. We have Boots. We have a lot of partners. Obviously, we have Carrefour here and everyone else. So I think as retailers realize the opportunity to grab this audience who are very much into instant delivery, we will keep doing it. Obviously, it then adds a greater opportunity on retail media, but also for partnership with those brands. We do a lot of partnerships with those brands in terms of how they activate on our platform, how we can work with our consumers. So it's a positive and one that I'm delighted we've got more brands coming on, and I'm sure we'll continue down that road.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the three of you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for sharing so much insightful content. I hope this gave all the brands in our audience new ideas about how to leverage commerce media, travel media. And now let's move on to the next panel. I'm happy to welcome Travis on stage for our next panel, Looking Ahead, New Trends in Commerce Media.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Travis Klinger. I'm LiveRamp's Chief Connectivity and Ecosystem Officer and our GM of International. And I have the privilege today of having a few amazing panelists on stage. So I would like to welcome Anne from Scope 3, Francois from Google, and Tu from DPG. All right. So I have detailed bios that I could read, but I thought it would be much more fun and probably better for the audience too if I let each of you introduce yourself, share a little bit about what you're most excited with data collaboration and where your company is innovating. So, Toon, why don't we start with you?
Thanks. Normally it's ladies first, but I will then go first. So I'm Toon Cobbens. I'm responsible for data and AI within the sales house of DPG Media in Belgium and Netherlands. For the ones not knowing DPG, we are the largest media company in both countries. What is special is that we are both a broadcaster but also a publisher. So that means that on one side we have a lot of reach, a lot of daily reach, but on the same side also a lot of logged-in user base, which means a lot of data. And in the last 5 years, we concentrated a lot on our first-party data strategy. 5 years ago, 10% of our digital ad revenue was data-driven, first-party data-driven. 90% was third-party data-driven or non-targeted. Today, 70% of our digital ad revenue is first-party data-driven. And so what we did recently also is next to our first-party data strategy that we started also cooperating a lot with advertisers. So a lot of advertisers that onboard their data into DPG, but also cooperation with retailers. So we support audience extension already for a couple of years. Since the beginning of this year, we also provide retail data ourselves on all our channels, so all our display video channels and so on. Specifically, through a cooperation with LiveRamp, we have a connection with both Carrefour via Unlimitail on one side, and on the other side with Tom&Co, two of the people we saw earlier today. So it's for us a combination of DPG first-party data, advertiser first-party data, and then retailer first-party data, and that's what we are very much believing in.
Awesome. Great to have you here. Anne.
Okay, so Scope 3. When we founded Scope 3 about 3.5 years ago, it was after retiring just from ad tech. And myself and my co-founders were definitely kind of armchair pundits. We would be working in a completely different industry, but almost every day be talking and looking outside in at the woes of the difficulties in trying to figure out how to buy media from a brand perspective. You know, this was in 2019, 2020, so there was the death of the cookie, still talking about that. There was a lot of discussion about privacy, starting to talk about clean rooms, and a lot of discussion about waste, waste from a marketing dollar perspective. So even now, it's like something like 44% of media dollars don't get to, only 44% get to the publisher. And so we were kind of sitting outside the ecosystem looking in and realizing that potentially there was a new way of reimagining the ad tech ecosystem with different new data signals that we could bring. So I know there's the best quote of the day so far has been like, no first party, no party. We'll get to the first party part later. This is not first party data. This is our data signal that we created by looking at the ecosystem from a carbon lens. So figuring out that actually there was a huge amount of emissions waste in the ad tech ecosystem, which just comes from how complicated it is, how many servers there are that mean that on every single transaction you get lots and lots of carbon being generated by all of the different calls to decide, you know, which actual ad will win an auction. And so we spent the last 3.5 years building out, first of all, an open source comprehensive data model to have this signal that helps brands to measure their carbon emissions and then reduce them. And then over the last year, we've been really proving out the fact that by focusing on this new signal with this lens, we're actually solving the waste problem and adding a continuation of media quality signals into our portfolio. And then we've been focusing then on making, and I'm going to plug for a brand new word today, making that data activatable. What do we think? Yeah, it's my new favorite word, activatable, because you have to be able to action on the data. And so we've been making sure that that data is activatable so that the fabric of media buying, once you're layering in your first-party data, once you're thinking about brand safety, making sure that that fabric of the environment that you're trying to engage your audience in is high quality, is
not wasteful. So it's saving your media dollars and also saving the planet at the same time, which is a really good way of thinking about how you can make the world a better place as well as doing a really good job.
Fantastic. Francois.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So I'm the MD for Google Advertising Solution in France. And you asked the question about what makes me excited about what we see today in terms of data, commerce, media. Prior to Google, I used to start and to work as a consultant for brands and CPG brands. And then I moved also as an entrepreneur, and I worked for Carrefour, a retailer. And then I moved 10 years ago to Google. So what makes me exciting is that this is the time where we can have a real transparent and fruitful collaboration between brands, retailers, and platforms like Google. So this is what it's happening today.
So you set us up perfectly for our next question. So thank you for that. Would love to talk, like we've heard a lot about retail and commerce media today. We've had some amazing panelists before us. Kind of like, you know, a lot of what we're seeing is fragmentation in the market. How can we lean in to solve that? And maybe let's start with scope 3.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question, because when we think about what it means to make sure that you have the best kind of media plan and making sure that you're figuring out where you want to be buying your media, you need to have the data to be able to do that. And I think there's been an interesting tension that I've picked up in a couple of the earlier talks around needing to have a ton of data points. The more data that you can have, the better. And then needing to be able to actually make smart choices and figure out what you're going to do with that data and where you can activate that data. And so I think one of the interesting challenges is being able to understand how you can take all of the information that you have and make sure that you are able to find the audiences that you're looking for in an environment that is, you know, safe and as well sustainable.
And you set us up, I think, for some of our AI conversations we're going to have, because obviously one way to help solve this fragmentation, tying it all together with AI. You know, you guys at Google have been doing amazing developments in the AI world. How do you see kind of retail media? Is that one of the goals, is to help solve that fragmentation with AI, or how are you guys thinking about that?
Yes. First, maybe a few words on the AI revolution that we are all living. At Google, we have started to be an AI-first company in 2017, so it's already a long time ago. But we see a true acceleration for the last 2 years. And it's what we call within Google really a platform shift. And the magnitude of the change is probably even bigger than the internet shift and the mobile shift altogether. So we have been replatforming and accelerating on both, I would say, the algorithm we are using, the computing. We are developing our own TPUs. So it's a massive change, and it impacts the full set of solution and product that we are providing on the market, both the consumer product like search and YouTube, but also the B2B solution and all the set of Google marketing platform that we are providing. And you probably all know DV360 and SF360 that are our core solutions that were built to first solve this problem of fragmentation of media and bringing to all the brands a solution that helps to unify your media spending by avoiding to have a duplication of ads and being sure that when you bring $1 for your ads campaign, it's really one efficient dollar, and as you say, to avoid waste and less efficiency. So all these two platforms have been rebuilt thanks to AI to also now help to solve the problem for commerce media. And I can detail maybe more later, but it's really about moving DV360 and F360 in the commerce media world now. We had the first phase of commerce media, which was retail media, with a more walled garden solution from retailers, and we are moving, thanks to DV360 and SF360, to a more open world where we will be able to bring both for brands and retailer a new suite of product based on the D360 and the SA360.
Perfect. And Toon, you come at retail media from a different perspective because you're, of course, a publisher looking to tap into more retail media dollars. How do you look at the fragmentation of that market?
Yeah, I think two ways, as I said earlier. On one side, we support audience extension onto our platforms. But on the other side, so we provide our own retail data onto our platforms. Now, I've seen where we are really very enthusiastic about is the connection of having connected TV on the first screen with retail data, with all the proof functionalities available, like closing the loop, sales reporting data, brand lift data, all these kind of things, but also being bought through a self-service ad manager. And so that's something we launched in Belgium and Netherlands. We have our own ad manager where advertisers can come in directly. You don't lose, I would say, all the DSP, SSPs, intermediate fees, but you really get €1 is €1. And you also get a carbon reduction because you don't have all the open market issues in between. And so that's a good thing. And there what we have done is on Connected TV, we ourselves are a broadcaster, but we are also representing other broadcasters in the Belgian market as well. So we do, for instance, also the sales for TF1 in Belgium. And so with one ad manager platform, we actually have 6 data controllers behind, DPG, Proximus, Telenet, TF1, RTL. So a lot of different data controllers. And we do the data collaboration, orchestration between the retailer and all these 6 data controllers behind it. So for the advertiser, it's just very easy. He does a self-service ad manager buy. He gets the retail data. He gets all the reporting. And he doesn't know that behind the scenes there is actually 6 different data controllers and a lot of data collaboration issues happening. But we resolve it for him.
So making it simple for the retailer, one stop to buy across Belgium and the Netherlands.
Yeah, for the advertiser, but then using retail data and across the whole ecosystem of premium connected TV inventory. And the results are astonishing because it's a little bit the marketer's dream. You want to be on connected TV, you want to be on the first screen, but with all the digital bells and whistles that you want to have. You want to have the closed loop reporting, you want to have the retail data to target on. And so I think today we see the results are astonishing actually when combining both worlds.
Perfect. So for DPG and Scope 3, a question for you guys. What are some of the latest innovations you guys are most excited about? You guys have been making a lot of announcements. You speak of your self-service platform. I think we see Brian, he makes a LinkedIn announcement, it seems like every other day for Scope 3, so that's pretty exciting.
I don't really sleep very much. Yeah, I think, what we're trying to do at Scope 3 is to help brands drive growth wherever they're buying media, in a safe and sustainable way. So we've talked a little bit about sustainability as that key signal in helping focus on waste alongside other media quality signals. You mentioned a couple of them yourself. But what we're also trying to do is make sure that the brand's preferences as to the environment in which they're buying media are aligned to how they see and perceive themselves. And even when I'm describing this, it sounds very different to the legacy brand safety solutions of what's your list of keywords that you want to avoid, and let's make sure that we update them regularly so that we don't accidentally forget to turn Paris off as something that we want to avoid, and then we don't spend anything in the Olympics. And so we've been thinking about how I kind of talk about this like safety and sustainability and like the fabric of buying feels like 2 sides of the same coin. And so one of the things that we've been doing at Scope 3 is really thinking about that fabric. And we launched a product called Brand Standards 3 months ago, where we're seeing incredible results in enabling a brand to have full control using AI on expressing their brand preferences and using the nuance of AI to create and make sure that the environment is brand safe with an AI agent. So instead of saying, I don't want the word binge, and I'm a chocolatier, I don't want the word binge because I don't want to be associated with binge eating or binge drinking. Well, actually, that's terrible if we're talking about Netflix or looking at your connected TV examples, actually binge watching is probably a perfect environment for you. But let's use an AI agent to really understand your preferences, your frameworks, etc., and let it do the talking. And so that's one of the things that we've been working on for the last few months that I'm particularly excited about. And doing that in a way that we can distribute and add in all of the media signals that we're talking about. Sustainability, no made for advertising, everything that is making sure that you're being really targeted about how you're spending your money. And then with the layering of the audience data over the top, in the ability to do that as well, as close to the source as possible of the supply, we're starting to see just really, really effective media. I think that was in the introduction that Brian, my co-founder, said, you know, we want to actually spend less on higher quality. And that's kind of the goal that we're trying to achieve with the safe and sustainable growth.
Pretty amazing, and I'm excited to see the next couple months of LinkedIn posts and the announcements. And
We just did another one 2 days ago. We'll talk about that in the next question.
Perfect. And Toon, what innovation are you most excited about?
Well, it would be strange if I would not call out AI. So, of course, AI and generative AI are important topics. Also on our self-service platform, we see the opportunities are huge. Of course, the traditional AI, machine learning, predictive modeling, optimizing campaign performance. So we have a lot of functionalities like attention measurement, but also a conversion API and all these kind of things. And so if you let the platform optimize for these kind of outcome-based topics, you see huge results. So we are really getting enthusiastic about it. On the other side, it's also called generative AI. Today, we have our own seamless ad formats, which are native kind of formats, which are always composed of an image and different texts and so on. Well, yeah, we have different options there to have like text generation via generative AI, working on image generation. Next time will also be video generation. And I think also there the results, if you can do A/B testing, if you can customize the generative AI banners, creatives more to your audience, then you also see that the results are following. Always on the back, of course, using first the data, because as said previously, without first-party data, all of these things won't work. And you have a standardized data, and you need the data collaborations in place, because otherwise all of these things wouldn't work. So that's the key.
Okay, so switching gears a little bit, you know, you guys had your upfronts, the new Google Newfront, just about a month and a half ago, and you made some pretty exciting announcements about commerce media and some new functionality that's coming out there. Can you maybe share with the group what you guys announced and what you're most excited about coming out of those announcements?
Definitely, and this is definitely the first time publicly that we are exposing the innovation that we are launching this year. This will be via beta version, so we have already many retailers and brands testing it. It's going to be a journey, but I'm very pleased to announce 3 major evolutions within DV360 and SF360 for commerce media. The first one is about solving the problem of scaling and usability. So we will evolve SF360 and DV360 to help brands to have a self-service mode and to make sure that they can easily activate commerce media campaign via a self-service model. And the second part related to the ability to scale is that we will extend the inventory that will be powered with retail data and retail audience to not only the 3P content that you can activate via DV360, but also in H2 for YouTube. So it means that you are a brand, you are using DV360 on a everyday basis or a monthly basis, and you will be able, by H2, to start to activate a YouTube campaign with retail media audience and retail media data seamlessly. So this is a major move and change within DV360. The second change is about control. We hear a lot about, I need more control, I need more transparency, I need more reporting on the profitability of my campaign as a brand. Here again, we will be able to make some evolution via DV360 to help brands to control the campaign and the profitability of the campaign. How it will work? The retailer will be able to upload the conversion at campaign level, at SKU level, and this will come back in the reporting for the brand via DV360. It's a major change. Everything will be controlled both by the brand and the retailer. The retailer could accept or not to share the conversion at SKU levels, but this will be completely transparent. And the last evolution, which is very important to make this, I would say, profitable for everyone, is for the retailers. They will be able to get a fee on two new aspects: on any audience signal that will be used for the campaign activated by the brand, and they will be also to have a markup fee for any conversion that are used as a reporting tool by the brand. So we are moving from a world that was, I would say, kind of walled garden retail media to a commerce media world where you have on both sides the opportunity for a brand to activate very simply all the retailer data audience and to get the reporting with a full loop, including the offline sales at SKU levels, and for the retailers to get a profitable model, both on the data that have been activated and on the reporting activated as well. And this will be really a key, I would say, we are, I would say, getting rid of many blockers, both for brands and retailers, thanks to this evolution. Again, this is beta for this year. We have already a lot of retailers onboarded, like Costco in the US, so it's a major one. And we know the importance of retail media for Costco. So stay tuned on the further announcement. If some retailers are happy to be onboarded in the test, feel free to reach out to your Google contact to do it. But again, I think you are asking about excitement on the commerce media. This is really a pivoting year for Google on DV360 and S360 on commerce media.
No, I think this is a game changer, and I'm excited. I hear there may be some more announcements next week at Cannes, so it could just be a few more days. One thing that you mentioned, you called out the need for transparency, and I think we hear this a lot from retailers. So can you maybe share about how you're thinking about optimization and measurement transparency with this new product?
Definitely transparency is key, and I will maybe step back, because you were mentioning about sustainability, and we made an announcement earlier this year. It was in March. It's about sustainability, and you know that we have now in all our Google Ads product, but also in DV360 and SA360, an ads carbon calculator. So here again, it's about transparency, and you can get the exact carbon, because it's not a model. This is the exact carbon that has been spent via your campaign on all the Google data center and server for the specific campaign you have activated. We did that a few years ago on Google Cloud Solutions, and the good news is that this has been developed in EMEA, in Europe, more specifically in France. Now it's spread all over the world, and you have this tool of transparency within DV360. So transparency is really at the heart of what we want to do. And as I say, it's on sustainability, but it's also in terms of how you activate campaign, what type of data you are using, the markup fee that retailers are taking. So it's really at each stage of the commerce media value chain that we bring this transparency.
Perfect. And so, Anne and Toon, how are you guys thinking about transparency with the solutions that you're rolling out?
I'm obsessed with transparency. We probably are very transparent. We just in general, I think we publish like entire product demos on LinkedIn, and we've had a philosophy since we started the company to show, not tell. So we open sourced our measurement for carbon methodology in 2022. 8 months after we founded the company. You can go on our website right now and sign up for a free account, and you can see the carbon emissions of every website, social platform, etc. in there. We have done something very similar as we raised some funding last year to focus specifically on the carbon measurement of AI, which we'll talk about specifically a little bit later on, but really trying to make sure that we show our working, and that translates into kind of every single product that we have. Trying to create that transparency for different constituents as we try to build trust or increase the level of trust within the ecosystem as well. So for our brand standards product that we launched in March, we want to make sure that for every single artifact, which is a piece of content, a podcast, a CTV show, that if a brand is blocking that artifact, the publisher can understand. So we've also created free dashboards for publishers to really understand at the granular level what's going on. And I feel like that kind of move towards making things equal across the ecosystem means that, you know, everyone is speaking a shared language when we're talking about different data points and different signals, because often, you know, I think Christy was saying, I don't want to look at a spreadsheet that has 2,000 data points in. It's even scarier if you have a spreadsheet with 2,000 data points and someone else has the same spreadsheet, but the numbers are slightly different. And it's really hard to figure out the differences between the two. And what we're trying to do is open that up and make sure that everyone is seeing the same numbers.
Awesome. And Toon?
Yeah, for us, I think transparency, of course, is key. I think we all know from the past that television and radio works, and everybody knows that. But these days, we can also prove it, and so that's a good thing in a transparent way throughout the full funnel. So we are concentrating a lot on what we call our digital proof proposition, from upper funnel until lower funnel, and by always cooperating with third parties. For instance, we do brand lift measurement with brand metrics. We do attention measurement with Double Verify, which has an MRC accredited way of attention measurement. So this really shows openly, like if you show your ads, okay, how then somebody can compare with how the ads are working somewhere else, and I think that's crucial. We're also working on things like drive to store. Today there is less like of a standardization over there. And then finally for retail and sales conversion reporting, we're working with LiveRamp, with Unlimitail and so on to use a standard reporting over there that they are also providing. I think over there, I know IAB is working on some more standards into retail media on that side, and I think it would be interesting and beneficial for all of us that we can compare across the different reporting that we get from the different sites. So for us, it's adhering to the standards as much as possible and being very transparent. And then the next step is not only showing it, but also providing the ability for advertisers to optimize on this through our self-service platform. So for instance, also on the carbon emission, we have done testing, among others with Scope 3, in which show that by the way of how we work, leaving open markets, having a direct relation without a lot of middlemen, etc., that our carbon emission is lower. And now we are working also make this available for every campaign that an advertiser does, that we show the carbon emission in our ad manager platform. And next to it, they also can optimize the next campaign for minimal carbon emission, and that we will guide him into the selection of placements, into the selection of ad formats and so on, to optimize on carbon emission. If that's your goal, it can also be optimization on attention on whatever KPI that you want to focus on.
It's giving the choice to the marketer of what's most important to them. So we've talked about some really core things today. We've talked about new publisher self-serving that kind of operates across Belgium and the Netherlands. We've talked about the ability to improve brand safety, kind of next generation brand safety. We've touched on agentic AI. We've talked about the future of commerce media. And Toon, I think you said it best a few minutes ago when you said, hey, all of this has data collaboration underneath it. Like everything we've talked about today requires robust data, requires the robust and safe sharing of data. So in the spirit of leaving everyone in the room with one piece of advice they can take home from this panel, one takeaway, what would you tell them is your best advice around data collaboration? What should they be doing today or when they get home from this event? Francois, we'll start with you.
I think first, because there is this AI revolution and there is this momentum we are all living, and we are overwhelmed with announcement around AI. I think first, I would say, keep calm. Keep calm in terms of you don't have to throw away everything that you are doing for the last years when it comes to developing your website. With the emergence of LLM, should I get rid of my website because everything will be agentic? No, that's not the truth. You will need a website, and we will still need a website for providing the content. Do I need to completely throw away my data strategy and because it's going to be to change? No, you have still to work on getting your data right. So it means cleaning your data, making sure that you have enough data and the data has enough quality. And then it comes to what is the right ecosystem of partner and ecosystem of agency I should work with. Again, here, you don't have to throw away all your partnership strategy, but it's really about engaging, understanding who is doing what, and starting to change step by step your global data strategy, your global content strategy. The truth is that in the coming years, you will need more and more content, data, and I would say tools to be able to activate this data and to provide this data via APIs, via partnerships. So it's really about that, but it's not something where we will have overnight something that will be completely different. It's more an acceleration of what we know today, and making sure that you will become each and every one a data provider with the quality, the control, and the transparency.
Yeah. You nearly said my new word, activatable. So, I mean, I think that that's really key, right? Making sure that the data is where you need it, when you want to use it to decision on buying media. And then I think in the world of where we're going, in the world of kind of AI and agentic is, and I think Scott said this right at the very beginning of the day, which was it's not about like, don't worry about differentiating yourselves on the model. You have to differentiate yourself on what goes into the model. And we talk a lot about the data signals that exist within the within all of the spreadsheets, within the actual ecosystem that you can activate on. But there's a lot of data that I also think that we don't see as tangible data, and that's all of the nuance and the shared understanding of like, what does it mean to be a brand? Like, what does my brand tone and resonance say about who my brand is and who my consumers are, and that relationship? A lot of that is often in the brief at the very beginning of a creative campaign process, and it kind of gets diluted and translated into plans, and then eventually you end up with like rows and rows of like, this is where I'm going to activate and this is how I'm going to do the things, and it becomes very quantifiable. And so I think thinking about the excitement of bringing human creativity back into the very quantitative way that we think about data and activation is something that I think an AI agent is going to help us do. So I think that we should kind of be excited about that and think about data in, being a little bit more encompassing than numbers in a spreadsheet.
I like that a lot, bringing the human element back to creativity, powered by AI. June.
Yeah, I think if you talk about data, a lot of people think immediately it's complex. And it's also complex. Behind the curtains, under the iceberg, it's complex. But I think you have to shield it off in the organization towards advertisers, towards your sales organization, towards all commercial people. Because behind the scenes, you can make everything ready. We are connecting with 5 different clean rooms. Nobody should care about it. We have the solution ready. We can connect with everyone. We have all the privacy-related aspects. Well, we know how to do joint controllership relationships. We have done that. And so I think it's all about getting the full stack ready, and to the outside world, just make it simple. Because if you have like people which are getting like nervous if you talk about the word data, and you've fed them in with all the kind of acronyms that we have been using today, then they immediately stop. And I think it's our work to make it easy, to make it simple. KISS is our standpoint there. Just keep it simple.
And maybe one additional point. I had a customer who asked me 2 weeks ago, okay, you have Gemini. What should I do to be seen on Gemini? And I say, this is not the right question. The right question is, what should you do to make sure that your customer is still willing to go to your website? So what content, what service, and not try to think about what should I do to be good at Google or search. And it was a story with SEO 10 years ago, and this is exactly the same story with AI. People are thinking of AI, I should adapt to AI. No, you have still to adapt to your customer, to your business model and your purpose, and then the techniques will help you, but don't miss the objective.
All right. Well, unfortunately, I think that brings us to time, but this was a fantastic panel. Thank you all for joining. Toon and Francois, Thank you.
You're all waiting for the cocktail. We just wanted to conclude with a few remarks, half an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. Stan, how was it?
Well, it was absolutely brilliant. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on stage. Thank you, everyone, for listening to everything we said and the very nice discussion. I think maybe you have that on your quotes you wanted to mention, but there is one quote, well, two quotes, let's say. One is, we say no first party equal no party. I said this is potentially true for some that want to monetize and collaborate around their data, but like for the brands or the ones that don't have the visibility on their consumers, no first party means there is a huge party to be played. And so everyone needs to look into their first party data. If they don't have it, you can find it somewhere else, and you need to start to think about data collaboration, co-creation, and control, as Scott mentioned. And my second point, I think, was also related to Scott said around when we were doing marketing in the past, we're looking at one media for one moment in time. And what Adrien said about what we have to do now to lead a consumer to conversion is a much more looking at all the arsenal of media that you have to be able to do that. And that's tying super well within data collaboration, cross-platform intelligence, and all of these things.
Wonderful. On my side, I will just remind everyone with what Paul said. I think it was really interesting about this notion that you said, I think at some point, we're still learning. And that's very humble, but that's so true. I think we have so much data and we're all learning a lot. So thank you, everyone. We had a couple of announcements to finish before cocktail. So why don't you start, Stan?
Yeah, I think we have the same thing to say. We are both going to be in Umberly and LiveRamp at Cannes next week. So for the ones that are here, please knock on the door and we'll have a discussion with pleasure.
As for Numberly, next in 2 weeks, we'll have a great event on l'évolution de la fonction marketing 2025, and then Data Collaboration Summit in London in September.
And on the LiveRamp side, we'll be in Brussels and sponsoring an ATP tournament in Brussels called the LiveRamp Brussels Tennis Open. And second event in Berlin, we are speaking in 2 weeks at the Oversen Congress. And for the ones that are potentially working in Germany, well, we'll be happy to see you there.
CRM Day in October for Numberly. Last thing. And then
Wait. We have a Sao Paulo event called the Data Collaborations as well, a summit as well. Please join. Thank you.
It's like a global brand, so we'll all come. One last thing, if you're interested in the topic, we launched a certificate at Numberly about retail media and data collaboration. It's 4 half days. It's on-site or remote. It's incredible. LiveRamp is speaking, of course. And to finish, of course, huge thanks to all the teams who made this possible, because that was a big thing. There was no external company involved in organizing all this. It's all self-made. So congrats to everyone in the teams, both teams.
Congrats.
And